Let's see. Are we good? Are we bad? Are we ugly? Whoa! That's not supposed to happen. What happened to my alternative camera angle? Let's see. Hello, alternative camera angle. Where you at? Let's see. We got this, and then, boom. Well, frick. Oh, is it not plugged in? Maybe it's not plugged in. I don't know. I don't know why I would have unplugged it. But anyway, let's just go here. So, that box you see in the background, that's the Christmas tree that we had to put up. Anyway, welcome. So, I have not seen the Nintendo Switch 2 trailer, which is why I'm here. Yeah. In fact, this? Yes. Nice. So, obviously, we have right here, we got this and a few like articles related to it, but I'm not going to look at these until we actually take a look at the trailer. We can treat this as a Tacticast again, but there's going to be a little bit of a interesting twist with this one. Virile Bimix, hopefully, is supposedly going to join me in this discussion. So yeah. In fact, I'm wondering if I could probably, after I get Virile in on this, they shadow drop the trailer. Yeah, I wouldn't say it was out of nowhere. I think pretty much everybody knew. I wouldn't say knew, but everybody had a suspicion that it was going to happen today. We just didn't know if that suspicion was going to be true, and it ended up being true. I did predict though. Elsewhere, like I didn't predict it on Discord or anything, but I did predict that it would happen on a Thursday, and guess what? It is Thursday. What did I tell you? For those people who were like, well, my thing was, it doesn't matter what week it's gonna be dropped on. I just knew it was gonna be Thursday. So yeah. Also, 5 viewers already. Anyway, anybody who is watching, what I may do is like for the first hour after I watch the channel or the trailer, I will get on with Virile and do a discussion on it. But then after that, I may actually get on the public chat and have anyone come in here and give their thoughts on the Switch 2 as well. Because I do have my opinions before any of this, before the trailer anyway. I have sort of ideas / opinions that if what we're seeing, I might even completely revise my opinions. I don't know, but we'll see. Because what I do know right off the bat is that early like September Chinese leak was true, because this is exactly what it looked like. Now my question is, before we do anything, how similar in size, or what's the size? I'm sure this trailer will cover all of that. But what's the size disparity between the original Switch and this one? Like, screen size, I mean. Because I'm wondering, like, if it's comparable at all, will you be able to put the old Switch in a new dock or the new Switch in an old dock? I'm assuming probably not, but who knows? Maybe. But yeah, anyway, let me move over here and then actually move the camera so that it actually So I'm actually freaking in the shot. Okay, I guess this works. Anyway, oh crap. Give me one more second. Okay, we're back. So here's how we're doing this, by the way. Just like how I've been doing with Tacticast, and that's why I said this will be similar to Tacticast. I'm using my laptop for the stream. So for what we're watching, I'm using my laptop. My laptop is touchscreen, but I'm not even using the touchscreen. I just have my keyboard and my mouse and a separate mouse hooked up to the laptop. So mainly to prevent or to lessen the strain on the computer, on my main computer that I'm using to record and stream. So yeah. So what you're seeing here is going straight off. You know what I also could do before we end? I can probably also react to the new Xenoblade X Definitive Edition trailer, because I wanted to react to that as well, and I might as well do it since we're here. So yeah, let's take a look at this thing. Oh no, don't play! I don't want you to play this. Why does full screen automatically mean play? Anyway, has anyone here not already seen the trailer? Because I'd like to know if anyone here is reacting along with me. That would be cool. If not, if I'm the only one late to the party, then that's fine too. But just a show of hands, is anyone here? Give me a hand emoji, or just say me. Is anyone here not seeing the Nintendo Switch 2 trailer? Let me know in the chat. If you have, just said I've seen it. Yeah. I figured. Salty Swamp! Welcome, Salty Swamp. Who's that? Salty Swamp, obviously. Welcome to the stream. Anyone else here? Apparently I got a little thing here. Joseph's seen it. You're a regular here, right, Joseph? I don't know why, but I've got like short-term memory on your name in particular, but I do remember a Joseph. I just don't remember the third. Hydrating. Yeah, I think I've seen you here before. Anyway, it says there's 5 viewers in here, but it's all right. Let's go ahead and take a look at this thing. Oh, you know what? Now's a good time for audio checks too. First of all, I'll do that after I press play, so I have something to go off of. All right. Come on, Nintendo, give me something good. I have seen like pictures, but that's about it, right? And I guess none of this is like, at least the way the system looks, I've seen it before in the leaks. Which we'll get to the leaks in a minute. Anyway, all right, Nintendo, what you got? Question is, can you hear this? Yes, you can. Oh, great. So that's the original Switch. Yep, okay. Increase in size. Matte finish. I think it's already a matte finish. Oh. Plus and minus. Okay. Wait a second. Can you, like, play it upside down? Because there's a plus and minus button up on the bottom. Wait a second. Okay, I already knew about the big, and then, yep, slight. That's interesting. They're longer, but they're not wider. Yep, magnetic, right? Very sleek. They don't look that much different. Are they There's 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 something about that I'm wondering. Yep, yep. Uh, Is it going to be a clap sound instead of a snap? Yep, clap. So it's the Switch 2 clap instead of the Switch click. Okay. Is that all we're seeing? Oh, Mario Kart 9, I'm assuming. What are these characters looking like? Mario looks kind of weird on that. I won't lie. Oh. I'm trying to look at the graphics here. 2025, very soon, right? Okay. Let's pause it here. Backwards, yeah. Plays Switch 2 exclusive games, as well as all Nintendo Switch games, probably. Plays both physical and digital Nintendo Switch games. Certain Nintendo Switch games may not be supported or fully compatible on Nintendo Switch 2. So not all. Details will be shared on the Nintendo website. I'm assuming it's probably Labo. Anything related to Nintendo Labo, not compatible. You know why? Because the Nintendo Labo cardboard is specifically made for the size of the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons. So I'm assuming Labo won't be compatible. Maybe Mario Kart Live Circuit as well. But I can't think of anything else. The worst ones. Welcome to the stream. I did see you there. I was just kind of focused on this. All right, let's see. There were 2 charger ports too. I can see those controller plugs breaking easy. You mean by controller plugs? You mean the things inside that magnetically connect it to the system? Or you're talking about just the part that actually connects can break easily. I mean, yeah, probably. About the mouse mode, yeah. Yeah, so they clearly, to me, that looked like they're straight up doing a computer mouse kind of thing. Now, is that gonna be a thing with both Joy-Cons? And if so, how does that work? Two mouses? Oops. I guess I'll leave it here. The mouse move for Splatoon would be interesting. I don't know about, honestly, because I'm trying to think how one would do that with a Joy-Con. Because let me bring up the Switch as a little demo, I guess. Because from the way it looks, the Joy-Cons are the same width, but they're longer. They're slightly taller, I guess, from this perspective. But let me bring out the original Switch and see if we can figure this out. So give me just a sec. All right, so we'll use this as an example. So, playing Splatoon with separated Joy-Cons are already strange. It would feel worse in mouse mode. I do agree. In my opinion, any shooter that's third person just feels weird with a mouse on its own. First person shooters I do like with the mouse. But third person, I don't know. It just doesn't work well with me. I'm gonna actually let Viral know, because he's supposed to be joining me soon, that I finished watching the trailer. Viral is actually streaming right now too. Viral Bimix on Twitch. So I assume we're going to be cross-streaming. Let's see. The mouse moves for subsume would be interesting. Wait, does the Joy-Con still have the IR camera? I saw something that I thought I saw, like an article saying that it looked like that it didn't have an IR camera, but I thought I saw it, to be honest. Okay, but anyway, so I don't think I have a. If only this camera worked. Let me see if this camera is even. If it's plugged in, then I should be able to. Oh, it's plugged in. Oh, why do I have it in? Why do I have my shirt tucked in? Anyway, so why is it not turning on? That I do not know. Because if I could do that, then I would like. I guess I can use like a, I don't know, a book or something. Let's see. As a demonstration. Okay, so. Full Metal Alchemist. That's the book I'm using as a demonstration. Is that what we're looking at here? Because, like, the way that looks. First of all, the rail. Let's go to the image here. I'm messaging Viral right now, by the way, on Discord. All right, so let's move. Let's see, where is the Joy-Con rail here? Okay. How much narrower or wider does it look from this perspective right here? Okay. I only know that 1-2 switch had it. Okay. Have the IR camera. If not, some games won't be playable. True. Well, look, so, okay, this mouse, right? That kind of looks IR camera-like, but maybe it is more of a sensor than a camera. Could be. But assuming the Joy-Con is the same width as this, but it's longer. Let me see if I can hold this in like an orientation where you can see it in the same angle. Okay. So like this. It seems like this is a little wider than that. Can y'all see that? Do y'all think so? If I were to bring it up close in the same orientation. It also seems flatter here. Because my thing is, if it's supposed to be like a mouse, then it should be flat on the bottom. Now, maybe there's some sort of attachment, like a little, basically a mouse pad attachment, where you can essentially attach it to this and make it so that it moves around smoothly on a flat surface. Because that would be kind of... I could see these getting dirty really quickly doing that a lot, right? So, but still, the way that they had it moving like that at all means there's something mouse-like. Something similar to a mouse. But yeah, where's the C button that people were talking about? I don't think it's actually going to be called a C button, or maybe they are... Because that is the right Joy-Con, again, from this orientation. So the C button would be here. Oh yeah, Viral. I am ready now. We can use this moment to do a audio check. Let's see. I sure am. So I'm calling Viral right now. Hello?
All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Chat, can you hear Varial?
Oh, can you hear me or no?
Uh, can you not hear? Oh, you know what? I think I know what happened. Y'all can hear Varial, I assume. Mm. Here, there you go. How about now? Can you hear me now?
There we go. I can hear you.
Okay. I had to swap the audio device to back to the what you call it, the audio box. Okay. You say Varial sounds very low.
If that's the case, then yeah, you might want to adjust that then.
Yep. In fact, I think I can actually do a proper audio check now. So let me go
Right.
to my phone and check it on there. Let's see here. I gotta turn this off. It's getting
All right.
very hot in this room, even though it's very cold outside. All right. Let's see. Can I adjust your volume from here? I can't. Okay, how about that? I guess you can.
Oh, can you hear?
Oh, actually, duh. I can just turn desktop audio up as well, just in general. All right. How about now, chat? Can you hear him?
Let me know if you all can hear me, so that way we can get this discussion started.
Yeah, we can get the ball rolling. Get the switch clicking.
Yep.
Up. Just in general. All right. How about now, chat? Can you hear? Let me know. Okay, yeah, I do need to turn you
Hopefully.
up a little bit more.
Okay then.
Let's do 170%. Let's try that. All right, you can try again.
All right. So how do I sound now, chat? Hopefully I sound good on TechMuse's end.
Get the ball rolling. Move up a little bit more. Okay. Let's do 170%. Let's try that. All right, you can try again. All right. So how do I sound now, chat? Hopefully I sound. Okay. 200% it is. Got it.
Oh God.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Okay. Let's do that and let's do that. Okay, I think we should be good at this point. I was trying to listen to it on my
Yeah.
phone, but I
All
think.
good.
Can y'all hear him now?
Let's hope that this works, because we do not need to deal with this pain in the pain
Yeah,
in
the whole
ass
time.
again. So, yeah. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm trying. So, for the past couple minutes, I've been trying to figure out the sort of thing with these new Joy-Cons. So I got a Joy-Con in my hand right now, just sort of comparing the size and all that with it. But
Right.
uh, so breaking news. Is it good now?
Hopefully, at least sound good, and I don't have to actually worry, because I already got his work on my end apparently.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, yeah. So you're still alive on your end.
Yeah, I'm still live on my end.
Great. Awesome. It looks
Amazing, outstanding.
indeed. um, it looks like we may have, or it looks like he may be AFK. But anyway,
Uh-oh.
oh, he's back. Anyway, yeah. So I just got done looking at this thing, just the whole trailer. Surprisingly,
All right.
well, I'm trying to think. Was it shorter than the original Switch trailer, if I'm remembering? Because they played like a song with it. Um,
I, d- I don't think so. I think no, this trailer is definitely shorter than the official Switch reveal. By I believe the original Switch reveal was like 5 minutes.
yeah, again, because they played like a whole, song, and they let the song
Yeah.
basically play throughout the whole thing. But also, there was more to show, and I think anyway, there was more to show because it was a new concept at the time. Whereas
Right.
most people get the Switch idea now, so they don't really have to convey to people that, oh, this is also a hybrid system. They can just see it
Yep.
that it's a Switch. So they just have to kind
Right.
of show the couple new things they added, or looks like quite a few new
Yeah.
things actually. Um,
Yeah. Definitely.
okay. Well, you know what, Joseph? Maybe actually, if I turn my volume down slightly, maybe that'll help. Just from the audio interface. I don't know. I don't know how much that'll help, but I just turned it down slightly, and that way, at least our voices are kind of equal. I don't know. Anyway, um, I Kurt, I still have the trailer up. So what were your sort of first impressions on this?
So my first impressions, honestly, is that I'm very interested, like that they actually went with the sleeker, like more rounded design, because that's what been more of a trend with smartphones as for a while, and I get what they're doing with it. They even doubled down on it even more now, well, considering like this Joy-Cons have gone even more into that curved angle, pretty much, you know?
Yeah, they're going. Yeah, the whole system too. So they it looks like. Well, shoot. I guess I'll get out my actuals. I just got out the Joy Cons for comparison, but actually, let me go and get my Switch so I can do like a hands-on comparison. I guess. I'll be right back.
Right. Yeah. So and on the topic of that, pretty much with the Joy Cons, it's kind of interesting how this actually played out because right here we see like that they actually instead of mostly the color of it showing it being like the whole how should I say like the entire controller itself being like the colors that they represent, it's now just mostly the sides of it and the inside ring, which I'm mixed on, but I do respect the idea considering we had seen this idea happen before. Like considering we had the like Nintendo 2DS that did the same thing with the inverted colors. So that's pretty cool.
So I just got my Switch with me. Um, well,
All good.
so I think I got sort of the gist of what you're talking about with like the color, um, sort of template they're going with, or I guess the base color, because um, I guess yeah, it to me it kind of makes sense because realistically they could literally just release new. I think they're literally just gonna call it the Joy-Con 2, or maybe the something else con, like the I don't know the
Like probably advanced Joy-Con or Joy-Con Advance, something like that
yeah or the
would be
if
funny.
they called it the Super Nintendo Switch, they could have called it the Super Joy-Con.
That is true. They
Yeah,
could do that. I think Super Joy-Con definitely sounds like advanced, like Joy-Con Advance or Super Joy-Con sounds
yep.
like a very good naming scheme, honestly, and it does roll off the tongue pretty much, considering it's Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, and it
So yeah,
also like at least when you're going to the store to buy a Joy-Con, uh, I don't think Joy-Con Pro would
I think that
necessarily
Joy-Con
work.
Pro would actually. The thing is, Joy-Con Pro sounds like an oxymoron, honestly, considering that we already have the Pro controller, so why would they
Yeah,
not
yeah,
call it a
yeah,
Joy-Con Pro? Oh,
yep. And then, but like either calling it the Super Joy-Con, I do think Joy-Con 2 would make sense as well. But I think you're moving into like PlayStation territory with with the DualShock 2 and
yeah.
DualShock 3, DualShock 4. And I don't think they want to like seem like they're copying Sony, which is
Yeah,
which is kind of ironic. It would be
yeah, and
ironic.
considering like the history with Nintendo and Sony, we don't want to
Yeah,
cross that territory, especially.
yeah.
So let's try to not cross that territory in a way.
But Super Joy-Con could work. Um, maybe Joy-Con Advance because that would be another kind of callback to like their handheld. Um,
Right, that would be awesome.
um, I'm trying to think of any other kind of similar. really the Super Joy-Con and the Joy-Con Advance are the only thing I can think of. They don't really list. They don't really name anything in here, right? Other than the there's no words or letters other than Nintendo Switch and
Yeah.
the the confirmation at the end that it's backwards compatible, which
Right.
to me, when they talked about it, when they first talked about it, the new system being backwards compatible, that was like the first indication that it's going to be a Switch. Um,
Pretty much.
yeah, but what I, yeah, what I was gonna say is they could easily just release new, or release other Joy-Con sets that are different colors, right? Um, you know what I am noticing though? The system overall looks more gray than black. Because like the regular Switch is mostly black all around, right? Um,
Right.
and then other than the Switch Lite, but um, it looks more of a dark gray, and maybe that's just this picture. Let me see if the I guess I
No,
guess
you're not wrong. It definitely is like more dark gray. Like considering the official, like the original Switch Joy Cons are like pretty much just gray too. It's not like
yep.
out of like super out there to say that they're probably going with a darker color scheme for the Nintendo Switch too.
Yep. So
Ooh.
I've got a set of gray, like the dark gray Joy-Cons, and yeah, it kind of looks like this. It almost seems like, because like when they first released the Switch, they released the gray SKU and the blue and red Joy-Con SKU, and it looks like they're just blending it with this. So you have a gray Joy-Con with a red and blue side, and I'm wondering
Right.
if they're going to use that color scheming, that color, I guess, assignment for all Joy-Cons going forward, because um, I think for at least in the beginning, people sometimes got the different sides confused at first, specifically when they were trying to put on the little Joy-Con strap.
Yep.
Um,
I remember seeing incidents of that.
Yep. So, if it's color coded, it would probably be easier to not screw that up, um, unless you're colorblind, which, sorry. But
No, it's not colorblind. It's more symbol blind.
that's true. Well, I mean, in this particular case where the actual Joy-Con rails are color coded instead of the whole controller itself. I'm assuming the rails or I guess the connectors on the Switch. Oh no, the connectors on the Switch are black, or are they colored? No, they're colored the same as the Joy-Cons. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There would be a new Joy-Con strap. Pretty much, they already showed what exactly it looks like essentially, because it just like they showed pretty much there is a new Joy-Con strap for it. As
Oh,
we can
are
see
you-
in this, like,
are you replying
screenshot.
to
Like,
Joseph?
When they actually have it, yeah. So like, pretty much they already confirmed that there is a new Joy-Con strap. If you literally look on the part where they actually are about to slide the Joy-Con around, pretty much like on a surface, essentially indicating that there's probably a mouse-like sensor in it. It's kind of it already shows that it's clipping onto like one of the Joy-Con straps. And so that's been confirmed. So it's also kind of seems like it's going to confirm that we either have some kind of like mouse sensor in it, which would be interesting.
yeah, like a DPI sensor.
Yeah.
Or what is it? Yeah, it's DPI, right?
Yeah, DPI.
Yeah. I was trying to think of what the term was, but let me see if I can find exactly what you're. I saw something that was oddly interesting to me, just like in the beginning when they were sort of basically 3D printing the system on the video, because that's what it looked like they were doing. Like as the video played through, it's just like 3D printing itself. But
Right, it does look like it.
so, oh, what? Oh, those are screws. I thought those were plus and minus buttons for a second on the bottom of the system, where I guess the other plug is, or where the I think this is
Yeah, those are
26,
screws.
26 seconds is. I was like,
That's
are those plus and minus buttons?
yeah.
But yeah, those are screws. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm,
those are just screws, pretty much.
yeah, and I'm looking now.
Like just next to the speaker. Yeah,
Yeah,
with
they're
the
in the exact.
USB-C port on the bottom.
Yeah, and they're in the exact same spot that they are on the regular Nintendo Switch. Now that I'm looking at it, actually, I just found this out literally right now. My Switch is missing a screw.
Oh,
Where the hell did
God.
that go? Right here. Can y'all see that? Maybe it's hard to tell. But there's a screw missing here. The screw is right here. I don't know when that happened, but because I've never tried to open this thing. So interesting. But I mean, it's one out of 6 screws, so I'm sure it'll live. It's lived these 8 years perfectly fine. So one thing I'm also noticing is that the fans, at least the cooling fans on the bottom of the system, instead of being on the back, they're actually on the bottom.
I thought that was actually the speakers of the thing, to be honest. It looked like speakers.
Oh, they could be actually.
The-
Yeah, you know
It
what?
looks like
Because
the intake fan. Yeah, because it looks like the outtake fan is pretty much still on the top, like the normal Switch. Just it could be like that on the bottom might be somehow like the speakers for the actual system, considering the dots and like also like how speakers usually would look. They have this little like chain pattern on it.
I guess that does make sense. Because there's the like outtake fan on the top of the original Switch, but there's also intake fans on the back. And I guess on the back would make more sense if it's docked, right? Because
Yeah.
where it would be sitting, it would make more sense anyway because I guess it would need to be there if it needs to cool something instead of being on the bottom. Anyway, but yeah, I actually, now that I'm looking at it, I do think that's a smart idea to put the speakers there because on the original Switch, the speakers are basically on the same plane as the screen, and they're very tiny. These look to be a little bigger, actually quite a bit bigger. Now that I'm looking at it,
Yeah.
do they? Is that the only place they show up? Is there?
I believe so, because I don't see any other spot they could realistically put them in. And it looks like when you actually look at the model of it, it doesn't look like they have any other spot either, because the screen is pretty much not like being like chipped in anyway, like where you can see any like visible chip holes or anything.
Yep.
It's just a complete flat screen with nothing like changing on it, as the screen pretty much covers the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm also seeing. Well, this isn't that necessarily important, but the buttons look like they do on the Switch OLED instead of on the original Switch. Like the buttons, as in the power, volume buttons on the handheld itself. Okay, the fan actually looks more. I guess. I don't know, less flimsy on the top, the outtake fan. On my Switch,
Right.
my Switch fan has like a couple of the little rails on the Switch fan. Well, specifically one is like gone. It like chipped off. I think the other three,
Ouch.
yeah, the other three are on there, but I actually think it's because it got so hot at one point to where it actually warped one of the little bars on the top of the fan, and it just snapped off at one point. But the rest of the fans are there. Oh no, there's a chip here too, but it's not
So
like coming off. But go ahead.
yeah, so I was actually going to discuss like Joseph's question, and then in my chat Leslie. So first off, he's hoping. Well, Joseph's saying hope the battery life is good. The thing is that like if you're talking about the Joy-Con battery, like that thing will literally last for like a good 20 hours. But if we're talking about the actual Switch itself, yeah, it's kind of underwhelming. But considering that the Switch OLED's battery life, that lasts, I believe, a total of 6 hours on a full charge. on normal usage, if I recall. That's pretty good still, considering the handheld it is.
Yeah, and it's
Is
also, at least in handheld mode, the OLED is quite a bit. At least the screen, it's slightly more powerful than the normal Switch, and it's doing almost better battery life, right? Than the normal Switch.
yeah, and on to the question that Loveslaze is bringing up. Where do they place the USB-C on the bottom still? So they actually show off there's two USB-C ports essentially. One's on the bottom and the other is on the top.
Yeah, the other
And
one is right
I'll
in
show.
between the fan and the headphone slot.
Yep, right here. This is it.
Yep.
So we're not sure exactly what the point is of it being up here, but I assume that this is meant to be for a, let's just say, people who want to use a kickstand essentially, but don't want to have to look for one that they can place on the bottom, and just instead they can just plug it on the top. That's what I'm assuming. But it's possible, and this is a big possibility. It's possible this is just a DisplayPort cable. It's possible, like a USB-C just to DisplayPort.
Well, I'm actually
Could be.
thinking, I'm actually thinking. Here's something I'm wondering. So, imagine you're playing in tabletop form, right, or tabletop mode,
Correct.
and with how flexible the kickstand is, what if you can orient the Switch upside down, and plug your cable on either side of the Switch? For whatever reason. I don't know what reason you'd want it to be upside down for, but maybe the flexibility of the stand can make it so that you can put it right side up or upside down, or depending on how you're viewing it from. Um, which would make sense why there are two USB-C ports. And I'm assuming
Right.
possibly, like, say you have it sat in your dock, so it's charging from the bottom, but you can plug something else into the top for another use, maybe to connect a set of like really good headphones or something. I don't know, but um, it could probably be various different uses. By the way, I have your chat on my like dash panel on OBS, so I can see both mine and your chat.
Right, and I have something similar pretty much on mine. So like one's right now on my phone because I just didn't want to pull up another resource to just get the chat right now. If you can, just link it in. Like if you can
Oh,
link
yeah,
your
yeah,
chat,
yeah, yeah.
like a chat window for yours, it'll be really helpful considering how you can just open it up as a browser dock.
Yeah,
So
actually,
yeah,
yeah, I can do that now. Let's see.
sweet.
Copy this. Here's that same link. Unfortunately, unlike with Twitch, I can't just use your. I can't just use my like username and just change it based on the username. It's like assigned to each individual stream video. Um,
Yep.
you said no mic on it. Breaking news YOP. Well, first of all, is there a mic on the original Switch? I don't think so, right?
No, there isn't.
So, I guess not. Would are you assuming there's no? You're saying that because you're like, oh, well, if I'm playing handheld mode or something and I want to do voice chat and I don't have a headset, I guess having a mic on the Switch system itself would be convenient if you're trying to do some sort of voice chat. I guess, but um, what would you do then when it's plugged in or when it's docked? I don't know. I don't know if that's that necessary. Um, I would like to see how like thick or how much thicker or thinner the system is in comparison to the normal Switch.
Yeah.
I haven't.
To be
Go ahead.
And a good question brought up, like a good mention from Leslie is bringing it us up. He's asking, not sure why they would make a big open space to the kickstand, though. Oh, that is fair of an assumption. It's possible that they just wanted to have it look like this, since you don't need to actually buy a separate kickstand to keep it up. And
Actually,
I think.
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay, well, the way it looks here, it's honestly it seems like you could because the kickstand is like the hinges of the kickstand are like right in the basically right in the center of like the back of the switch, right? Where the actual hinges
Right.
of the handle are or the stand are. I'm wondering if you could use that as a handle for some weird reason. I don't know. Again, I don't know why you would be able to why you'd need to use that as a handle. But also maybe it's just to minimize the amount of plastic space that they have to use. Because
Right.
like I would assume there's not much going on under where the indentations are under the handle itself, or I keep saying handle kickstand. So probably all of the unused space from the kickstand is just where a lot of components are. Um, so that's to me that's just probably why. I mean that would make sense. Maybe the battery is under there or something, and they're using the
Right.
extra space that's like um, the part where the
Yeah.
kickstand is. Go ahead.
Right. And no, I'm just bringing up what Joseph's saying. Like the old leg kickstand used a ton of plastic. That does make a lot of sense on what it is, like pretty much. And this seems like the Switch 2's kickstand. We can see like right here on the kickstand part where they actually show that there's some like hint, like some kind of like plastic indent inside it. So it's probably
Mm-hmm.
there's a giant gap in it to hold more of the kickstand seems like right here.
Yep, and you know what I'm also looking at here? So they got the kickstand up. Where does the SD card go? I would assume I'm on 35 seconds in. It seems like so in the center of the spot, like the center of the bottom of the switch where the kickstand goes up. That's obviously where you plug the switch in to the
Right.
dock. But to the right of that, there's another indentation, and I think that may possibly be where the SD card goes.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
considering like the original Switch also had its like SD card slot in the exact same spot under the kickstand, pretty much. I
Yep.
assume that OLED has the exact same spot, has a similar spot. I don't know exactly
Hmm.
where it is. I need to go get the Switch OLED that's actually in my house because that belongs to my sister who actually uses it to play
Hmm.
some Splatoon 3 with us, and not the sister that we usually play with. By the way, I'm referring to like it's actually the older of the younger sisters I have, pretty much.
Okay. Um, I was gonna say, uh, I don't think I've. So I did get a Switch OLED, but it was for my dad. Um, and I never actually saw where the um, SD card goes in that particular system. And I knew the kickstand was much bigger than the original
Right.
Switch's kickstand, but because of that, I'm like, oh, now that I'm thinking about it anyway, like, oh, because it's so much bigger, where does the SD card go? And I thought, well, maybe it's just because it's still a regular Switch, technically, it's probably in the same exact spot. Um,
Right.
in fact, there does seem to be another slight indentation in the same, like 35 seconds in the same area that it is on the normal Switch. Uh, but it's harder, it's a little less obvious that it's an indentation here. But um, it could be either one of those. But if it's not this, then what is that other
That is
thing?
true.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
cause this would make it more the kickstand more prone to destruction from unforeseen disaster. Yeah, that is also another concern.
well,
It
hey,
seems why.
hey, look, if if the regular Nintendo Switch kickstand can last this long, I think you'll be fine with the other kickstand. Because look, that does look like it's flimsy, but look what else is flimsy. This kickstand that I just slightly pulled on a little a little, with a slightly a little too much force, and I just yanked it off. So, I do wonder. Well, the hinges look thicker, so okay, the hinges where the kickstand is on do look thick enough to like withstand some bit of force, and because it's flexible, you could probably angle it to a point where it's not too devastating for it, maybe. And also, if you can angle the kickstand at all, then it's probably a very tight grip, you know, where the hinges are.
Right.
It would have to be if you can, if it's that flexible. But is the Switch OLED? Doesn't the Switch OLED kickstand also have like multiple angles you can set it to?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I don't know. I remember when you chatted that worst one. So I got a viewer in my Twitch as well. Um, I have a 2017 Switch, so any battery life upgrade would be fine to me. Oh, that's probably an older chat, but it really depends on the materials they're going to use. Nintendo tends to be cheap at times. I mean, the regular Switch uses mostly metal, right? Um,
Sweet. Yeah, but it's still mostly plastic for the actual outer shell. But still,
yeah,
I get what you mean. The thing is that most of it's like right now, the cheap side of Nintendo seems to be coming from the actual Switch usage itself. Because back then, Nintendo's like quality on actually how durable the systems were top notch. Like it is very hard to break the Nintendo system at times
actually,
because of how durable they are.
there were multiple like demonstrations of people dropping the Switch from like very high
Yeah,
elevations and
like
it
I said,
surviving.
like I said, pretty much though, the Nintendo Switch it seems like where Nintendo slip in right now in their durability tests that they usually would do for a long time. You know,
True.
compared to the older systems.
Well, and I do like if you compare the Switch, if you look at it as a handheld, because obviously you would expect a handheld to be slightly less durable than a box system, right?
Right.
So if you compare the Switch, if you compare dropping a Switch to say dropping a 3DS or a Game Boy, actually a Game Boy would probably survive a 10,000 foot drop. Um,
Well, to be fair, that thing survived a bomb explosion.
True, but I mean a Game Boy Color, and a Game Boy Advance. Maybe not a Game Boy Advance SP,
Right.
but maybe a Game Boy Advance SP. I don't know. Game Boy Advance. I got a Game Boy Advance SP here somewhere. That thing is like when the clamshell is closed. That thing's a freaking brick. Um,
Yeah.
but like a 3DS, for example, I don't think is going to last very long. 3DS
Right.
the 3DS looks just looking at it, it's like considerably less durable than even the DS Lite, which I think is, in my opinion, the DS Lite's like the best sort of physical design of their handheld system. Just with how, I don't know, just with how sleek and tight all the hinges are and all that. Um, but
Yeah.
at least until you get to the Switch, because I do like the sort of um, just the sleekness of the way the Switch looks. Um,
Right.
Joseph says, "Have you seen DK's new design? You mean for Mario Kart or for DK Country Returns?"
I'm pretty sure he's talking. I'm pretty sure Joseph might be talking about the new Mario Kart. So
I
we do see a glimpse of that, but yeah. Well, it's not. We'll get to that when we get to that. You know,
yeah.
like.
Um. Oh, what I
But
did
back to the
notice.
topic. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm okay. I'm moving here to the like them showcasing the sort of flexibility of the kickstand. I'm trying to see how far. Actually, I'm trying to see what the hinges look like. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Let me go back there for a second. So I'm in I'm gonna go do that in slow motion to see how exactly it folds like that. So from like from 35 seconds in, I'm gonna put it to like half speed.
You can also
Uh,
do frame by frame by just tapping the greater than and less than like signs pretty much.
uh, my the the keyboard is elsewhere, so I'm just gonna go by half speed. But
Okay then.
okay. So the way that there seems to be it like it's not necessarily a hinge. I mean, obviously it's a hinge at some point, but there's like some sort of magnetism going on here, or
Yeah, I can see it.
almost like I guess a wedge kind of deal. It's kind of weird,
Right.
but I mean, if it so maybe it does. Maybe it's not that flexible. Maybe it just has a couple modes it can be in when it's or a couple different angles you can put it in a
Yeah.
tabletop mode. But I don't know. Maybe it's more flexible than it looks here. But I don't. That maybe they were just showing how far it could flex before it's flat, basically.
Like pretty much reaches its max that
Yeah.
it can go for.
Which
Yeah.
I mean, from this angle, I don't know what angle you'd have to be in to want it to be flat like that, but um, I guess it
Yeah, because
does. Go ahead.
like I was saying, like maybe like if you're trying to put this for some reason like directly onto like a table and then you have to look directly down at it for that low. But like at that point, why are you looking down that low? It's not like
Well,
it really isn't what you probably want to do for a long run.
you know what? I guess there have been times where I, for example, I'll sometimes play Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel on my Switch in just straight up touchscreen mode with no Joy Cons at all, and um, I I have to lay it flat for that, but
Right.
because there's no other way to lay it. But I guess having a kickstand like that to angle it up a little bit will keep the fans from getting covered, the intake fans
Yeah.
from getting covered. So maybe that's a good thing for it. Maybe that's the whole reason for that. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, Leslie said, yeah, I don't know why you'd want to go that low too. You might as well hold it at the point. True. Although I do
Yeah.
think that like I'm pretty sure like if you have the Switch or the Joy Cons on the Switch and you lay it flat, the fans won't be completely covered. But
Right.
if you need to use the Joy Cons, then you can't be doing that. So anyway, uh, I guess that's I can't think of anything else to comment on about the kickstand other than uh, I,
Like I do like the design of the kickstand at least, so that's like pretty nice at least of what they went with. I'm a little concerned about its actual durability once it does, like if you do have to wiggle it around, but we'll see how that goes like over time, you know? Because it's possible it's a lot
mhm.
more sturdy than it looks, and it just only looks flimsy because of these shots we're looking at,
Yeah, and
and what it currently shows.
actually, the way I'm looking at it too, if because it looks like it's sort of you pull it out and then it sort of just kind of fits into position instead of like snapping into position. So, but maybe it just like it's like a very tight fit into like that position. So how easily does it snap back to closed? The way they make it look on here, they make it look like it just slaps right back in, very quickly. So
Like obviously, in a realistic sense, it's not ever going. You probably never want to close it that quickly, but I guess it just kind of shows that hey, it could probably be that quick.
yeah, well, I just mean the because I don't know. the way it came out, it looked like it could be flimsy going out, but maybe pushing it back in, it's sturdier than it looks at first anyway.
Right.
But yeah, I guess we'll just have to see. And actually, I'm at 41 seconds in, by the way. You can kind of see a better view of the bottom of it, at least like a long view of the bottom of the Switch, where you can see both speakers, the
Yep.
the USB-C port plug, and then the back of the Switch that I guess the dock holds it in, where the dock holds it in place. So the speakers look they look huge actually. Like they look like because I do have that problem with the Switch sometimes when I'm playing in handheld, like I can barely hear the thing. Sometimes.
Yep.
It looks like this Switch, like you might be able to hear it from very far away. And probably very clearly too. So that's cool. If they're maybe it might even be capable of surround sound, or at least the effect of surround sound with speakers like that. Because I remember even the 3DS having kind of surround, at least the like certain games. Like I remember playing Ocarina of Time and having sort of having a very good stereo effect in the 3DS because it had both speakers. But anyway,
Right.
So yeah, hopefully that's good. And I guess taking the speakers off of the actual face of like the screen gives them room to make the screen slightly bigger as well.
Yeah.
Okay, you got anything?
I'm not seeing like much. No, like I'm not seeing much else like to complain about the speakers or even like comment on, considering like most of what we can discuss about the speakers is pretty much just said, and I don't think there's anything more you can add on to it. Like maybe potentially like depends on how loud the speakers are around this one, but to be fair, the Switch's like like the current Switch's speakers are not that bad, but they are pretty much lower in comparison. Like they are lower than expected.
Yeah, to me they're lower than like again comparing it to the last handheld system. They're from what I remember from the 3DS, they seem quieter than the 3DS speakers.
Yeah, and that's also another thing that we could point out. Like from what Leslie's saying, it's probably slightly more resistant to blowing out, but you'll eventually blow out the speaker if you stress it enough.
Well, yeah. So because like just the way they look like they'll be much louder at full volume. But because of that, you may not have to have it at full volume to just kind of barely hear it. Because like sometimes if I'm trying to play, you know, like say I don't know, laying in bed and try to play something before I go to sleep, and I want to be able to hear the speakers. On the normal Switch, I got to turn the normal Switch all the way up to hear it a lot of times.
Right.
With these speakers, you may not have to turn it all the way up. You may just have to turn it up to 2% or something like that, or 2 decibels or whatever the measurement is. Because I think it's like 10. I think you have to press it like 10 to 15 times before it's full volume. I think, at least on the normal Switch. Actually, let me see. From 0, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So exactly 15 like levels of volume. So with the Switch 2, you probably only have to press it up 2 or 3 times before you can actually hear it well. One thing I am noticing from this angle, it's at 42 seconds in. 42 seconds in, the Switch, the bottom corners of the system have rubber pads, so that when it's in tabletop mode, it doesn't slide around. Unlike when it's in tabletop mode on the original Switch, the only rubber pad is on the stand. And That makes it so the kickstand isn't going anywhere, but the Switch might. So
Right.
this looks like if it is in tabletop mode, it's going to be a lot more solid when it's on the table. So that looks like it'll be cool. Because I do play tabletop a lot, actually. In fact, I take my Switch to work pretty much every day. So just because you can. But yeah, you got anything to say about that?
No, I don't think so.
Because like, again, we're just talking about the bottom of the Switch. The fact that honestly, the fact that we're talking about the bottom of the Switch this much, I don't know. It's kind of
Yeah.
says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna kind of.
Onto this topic of the Joy-Cons, I did notice something like on the right Joy-Con here, pretty much. There's another button, pretty much just below the home button. I wonder really what this could be potentially.
Actually, speaking of the Joy-Con, so I'm trying to see because it looks like they're showing like when they first pull in the original Switch Joy-Cons, they're showing sort of the size difference, I guess. Right? Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So 45 seconds in, you see the size difference because they have the blue Joy-Con right next to the new right Joy-Con. And the buttons look bigger, like A, B, X, and Y. They look bigger. Maybe by not even 10%. But they do look slightly bigger, which makes sense. If it's longer, you should be able to fit bigger buttons. But the width of the Joy-Con looks about the same, like from left to right.
Right.
Maybe the new like insert rails make it feel wider because they're not like you don't click them from up to down, you snap them in from sideways, so it may feel longer.
Right.
And actually,
I mean,
go ahead.
like, no, I was just going to follow up like on Leslie's question, like mentioning that it's possibly a screenshot button, which I could see. But then, why does it not have the same symbol as the screenshot button that's literally on here? Is my question then.
Well, yeah, and the screenshot button. See, the screenshot button is almost shaped like a. It's shaped like a camera lens. It's like a camera lens in a box, right?
Yeah.
The one on the other side, people were saying it was going to be a capture button. Well, the C is not there. So in the actual reveal of the system, people were saying it was going to be a C button. People were speculating it was going to be a connect button or something, but obviously the C is not here.
And that doesn't make any sense considering that like later we see like if we go into like later and more into this design, we'll see that they actually do show the sync button where exactly you expect it pretty much, which is literally right here.
Yeah,
this is pretty much the exact same sync button that we see on this regular Switch Joy-Cons, in the exact same location too, so which is just right next to the SL button.
Yep, and now I'm thinking possibly, and also, why would that be the sync button on only one controller?
Exactly.
Yeah,
too.
why would they not?
That wouldn't.
Yeah, why would they not have that same button on the other controller if it's the sync button? Yeah, Joseph said, I initially thought it wasn't just another snapshot button. I mean, it would make, like...
Well, that's a fair assumption, so...
Like, it would make sense if you have someone who's like, because one of the things about the Switch is that you can pull off both controllers and use, or give it to someone else and have straight up multiplayer right off the handheld, right? So... it would make sense if both players could be able to do a screenshot. But, obviously, it looks different for a reason. So, what's that reason? We don't know. Honestly, from this point of view, it almost doesn't even look like a button. Like, it looks almost too flat against the surface of the controller to be a button. But maybe it's supposed to not be something you press all the time. So, because there are buttons like that on other devices where like it's clearly a button that you can press, but it's like made in a way to where you can't accidentally press it. So, like a reset
Yeah,
button or something.
yeah, and obviously, like, good thing. Yeah, as well as you're saying, whatever it is, we just know it's there, and he- he's saying that he wouldn't dive too deep on what it does. We don't really have a lot to go off on, which is fair.
Yeah.
But that's the point of speculations with these kinds of discussions, like when we're doing
Oh
these
yeah.
things.
Well,
Like, it's fun to
and
discuss these kinds of things and like speculate what it could be actually. So
well, yeah, and I will say, to be fair with Loveless's point, um, it it's not like it's something that you don't notice right away when looking at the controllers. Obviously, if you hold up both like the original Switch controllers and hold it up against these controllers, really the only difference is that button, other than the size. So you're going to be like, okay, why is that the only different thing? At least from what you're seeing right now. So obviously, there's going to be questions about that, and I'm actually, I won't say glad, but I'm more interested now than I was before that we don't know what it is. Because all these people were talking
right,
about, oh, it's going to be a connect button, and it's a C button, it's going to be a connect button. Well, we don't see a C, so maybe it's not a connect button. Maybe it never was a connect button. Maybe it was something completely different that we have no idea what it is for. And we just have to wait until we see that big Nintendo Switch 2 presentation like we saw in 2017. But hey, maybe we,
which pretty much will. And yeah, we're gonna get more info about that apparently in April. It says.
oh, okay, April, eh?
As
I guess that's right about the amount of time it took for them to talk about, like, because the original Switch trailer was like in October, and then the presentation was 3 months later, November, December, January. Yeah, so yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, January, February,
yeah,
March, April. Yeah, that sounds about right. Um,
yeah. So it literally says April 2nd, 2025. So that's when it said that we're gonna get a Nintendo Direct on the Switch too.
oh, just so it's an actual direct, not like a live
Correct.
presentation. I guess that's probably the smart
Correct.
thing to do because the last time they had a live presentation, they had a couple embarrassing moments. um,
Yep.
uh,
And then
Nate,
apparently we're gonna get apparently hands-on experience like later down the road apparently, but we'll have to. But it says to check the Nintendo website for more details on that. So that's interesting
it's
for
probably like
us.
the same
Maybe we'll.
thing they did before, where it's like the demo events where they had like the Nintendo store or something had like a demo of the console. It's probably going to be
Right.
something similar to that. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So one other thing I also wanted to get into is like the joysticks. I've noticed that the shape of the actual joystick cap is different, and I'm wondering like if they actually are gonna fix the joystick technology itself for the Joy-Cons. As we see, like if we let the video play out into the 49 section,
Yeah,
like 49 seconds in, we see that it's actually a way thicker stick, pretty much.
much
Compared
thicker.
to like on the
Yeah, almost looks
yeah,
like it reminds me of a like a different console's analog stick. Like I feel like I've seen that on a different console before, like
yeah,
that that sort of pattern. Because
yeah, and the stick looks a lot bigger too. So
yeah, a lot thicker. Like I would assume with them making the Joy-Con longer, that they have more room to make the stick bigger. So at least thicker at some point. Um, yeah, and actually, in this same spot where it's like the red Joy-Con and they're sort of filling out the Joy-Con, right? Um,
right,
you're seeing a lot going on in the on the rail here. Obviously, the central like connector is obviously where you connect the controller to the system. Do we know what that little hole is next to it? Because there's obviously the sync button on the SL side, but what's that on the SR side?
Well, let's see if we can. Is it going to rotate in that direction or no? Let's see.
Yeah. Oh, there's another controller in the way.
There it is. There it is. I see it now. It's on the blue one. So if we go to like 1 minute 2 seconds in, we actually see that apparently it looks like it's an IR camera on there.
Oh.
It looks like it's an infrared, so it might be possible that we got like a remote sensor on it. If I'm wrong, then hey, it's not like it's completely out there, but it's possible that it looks like it exactly what it is.
Okay, so how about this? Okay, there was a comment earlier in my YouTube chat where it was like, oh, it looks like the IR sensor is gone. Well, what if not only the Joy-Cons have this, but the Pro controllers also have this IR sensor in the same spot, like on the top of the controller? And so, instead of having to use the back end of the right Joy-Con like you have to do with the Switch for your IR sensor, what if they just moved them all to the top of the controllers so that you could actually use the IR sensor while holding the controller normally?
That it could be a interesting possibility, but the thing is that we already see the top of the controller in a couple seconds more into it if we let it play out. Oh, so like the top of the controller just literally shows that has the unlock button pretty much to take out the Joy-Cons from the sides of the Switch, and then we have our traditional shoulder button sets. So it doesn't seem like the IR camera is going to be there at all. Oh, however, I'm wondering if it's possible that it's actually on the bottom, but it doesn't seem like it according in these videos.
Well, I'm also wondering.
It's possible that it's on the very side.
True. Also I'm wondering if maybe, because I'm assuming this is gonna come with a Joy-Con grip for these particular Joy-Cons, so maybe.
Yes.
Maybe it could be once you click it into the grip, it would have an IR sensor.
It's possible, as we actually do see the Joy-Con grip itself on it, pretty much. Like near the end, pretty much. At 154, pretty much, there is an official Joy-Con grip for it.
I just noticed something. I didn't even notice this at first, but on 109. Right? Yeah, 109. Play until the Joy-Con basically slaps onto the table to be used as a mouse. I didn't even notice this, but it clicks into something, and I'm assuming that something is the strap, right?
Yes.
And they're using that as the what people are speculating is a mouse function. Now, it also looks like this grip accessory is going to have basically exactly what the original Joy-Con strap does, which is you can use either side of it. Like you could probably plug this into either the left or right Joy-Con. But it also looks like it'll be much easier to take it off because it's just magnetic. Assuming.
Yeah, and we're also.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, like as I was gonna say, pretty much, it also addresses the biggest issue people had when they first put this on, and like whenever they put on the Joy-Con straps, essentially they don't actually mix it up on exactly which side it is because it only goes in one way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, again, I don't know if this particular Joy-Con strap has both the plus and minus side. It looks like it could have both sides, but I don't think you see the other side of it, do you?
I don't think. S
Oh, yep, I do.
Oh no, we do. It's there. It's just blurry when you transition over it, but you can see the symbol. Oh, pretty much on both sides. Right here, here
Yep.
we can see the blue plus symbol, and then like if we back up track a little bit, it's hard to see, but you can see that there is a minus symbol on the red one on the back too, right there.
Yep, and
Right there.
you can also just see that there are um, indentations for the player indicator lights on both sides of the um, strap. So
Yep.
um, I do think it's interesting that this particular strap it has like it looks like it's not actually going to have its own button extension. You know how like the normal Switch Joy-Con strap, you click it over and it has like its own button that presses the actual SL and SR buttons. This one looks more
Right.
like it's gonna have like I don't know, like it's because it like in it indents inward toward the Joy-Con as opposed to like I guess caves outward like on the regular Switch Joy-Con. So I'm wondering if
Right.
there's going to be just a hole there to let the um, actual button come through instead of you having to press a button that presses the button. You know, because
So
go ahead.
yeah. So like I was actually looking into it more, and you can when the second you actually see them get out of the Joy-Con grip, you can actually see it's a giant hole pretty much inside. It
Okay.
is a black hole.
Oh, I'm also
Yep, right here,
seeing
pretty much. It
what
it
what
is a black hole.
what timestamp is that?
That would be 117.
Okay, so I'm like right there. Okay, yeah. So there's no. Oh, that's interesting. What? I need to. What was the frame by frame button again? Oh yeah, that. Okay.
So yeah, the greater than and less than equal, like greater than and less than signs, pretty
Oh
much.
yeah, it's a big hole. So
So you,
basically, it doesn't even. It just it's like a loop. It just loops around the the rail or the Joy-Con. I guess. Would it be a rail at this point, or would it be like a I don't know, like a plug, basically. It's just a straight up plug. It's not even a rail now. Because at least it makes sense for it to be a rail on the normal Switch because you slide it in like a rail. But here it's
yeah,
like a, it's just like a plug.
yeah, and I'm not seeing any way of it locking in, pretty much. No, never mind. I see it. Like on the very top right here. Like go back to 110. You can actually
Yeah,
see at the very top of it. There's an actual like indent in it, so that way it
yeah,
locks it in essentially.
yeah. And it also looks like there is a. That actually looks more like looks like it'll be less annoying to get out to get off of the Joy-Con too, than it than the original Joy-Con strap. Because that was another thing too. Even when you put it on there properly, it's annoying to get off. Um,
Yeah, I remember seeing like even like if when it's done properly, the button like this little button that actually is supposed to eject it, so that way it makes it easier to take it off. It is hard to hit at times.
yep. Now on here, it does look like there is a button that you probably press on top of the strap, but it's like an actual button that you press instead of some weird lever switch.
Right.
Um, so that's cool. And okay, this strap actually answers my question, my original question of like, if you can use the Joy Cons as a mouse, it would it. I don't know. To me, that seemed kind of weird for you to be able to do that with no like protection because I could see Joy Cons getting dirty really quickly by doing that, and then you putting it on your Switch with it dirty, you know. Because like I don't know, say you got some water or liquid on your desk and you're using your Joy-Con as a mouse and then you click that Joy-Con onto your Switch with like sticky soda or something, and then you got to try to take it off your Switch now that it's sticky with soda. So I would assume, I don't know, I would assume that anyone trying to use a Joy-Con as a mouse would want to always have this strap on. Because just to keep it from, keep it from getting dusty and dirty and stuff like that. But still, that's definitely. I'm wondering, with them sort of hinting that there's going to be a mouse functionality with both Joy-Cons, by the way.
Right.
Is there going to be a browser?
I would like to assume that there could be, considering the Wii U had one, the DSi had one, the Nintendo 3DS had one, even the Nintendo Wii, I'm pretty sure had.
Yep,
one.
the Wii did have one as well. I got a new first-time chatter. Oh, it's a freaking ad. Okay.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yep. Completely ignoring.
Okay, let's see. 1-2 Switch 3. I mean, it's possible we could get another new 1-2 Switch game.
Why not?
Like, that also. But the problem with 1-2 Switch, and this is one thing that everyone kept complaining about, even like the most casual consumers were complaining about, it should have been bundled with the console.
Yep.
Like,
actually, why wouldn't you call it 1-2 Switch 2? Because now it's kind of like a alliteration, right? Alliteration.
Technically, the sequel was called Everybody 1-2 Switch.
There was a sequel. The fact that I even have to say that.
An actual official sequel.
Oh.
Like, that's the sad part, is that you definitely did not know that it had a sequel, which is, like, that just shows how much of a failure 1-2 Switch was.
Yeah. By the way,
even though it is straight up one of the best tech demos I've ever played in my life.
By the way, so I'm at 1 minute 13 seconds, which is kind of showing how, well, curvy the Joy-Con looks. The original Switch Joy-Con is, it's got a curve to it, but it's like mostly flat until you get to the edge, and then it curves back around, which, I don't know. To me, it's comfortable enough to hold if you're used to sort of the small form factor. But this looks like it's going to be even more curvy, to the point where holding it the same way you hold the regular Switch Joy-Con, it may even feel better, honestly. The way it looks here, like there won't be any, I don't know. Because to me, the worst part of the Joy-Con when you're holding it normal, like in one hand, is the rail. Like the rail will grind against my pinky. Like for those of you watching on watching my camera, the way I'm holding the Joy-Con, my pinky is always touching the rail, which I don't know, that gets uncomfortable at a time just for my pinky. But for the rest of the controller, it's actually not bad. It's just the rail. Now, maybe the longer form factor of the new Switch Joy-Con will make it so that it's not like that. But who knows? At least other than Nintendo.
Yeah. On that topic, by the way, I think also it mentioned when you mentioned that, you actually can notice at the very bottom of the Joy-Con on rail, there's actually an indent that shows it slides pretty much. So I've seen myself accidentally grinding my finger on that and accidentally poking in my own skin because of it. Hey,
yeah. Yeah, because it kind of sets up. Yeah. Like if you're looking at it horizontally, it kind of sets above the actual controller, where there's a little bit of a gap. And that gap is where it slides into the system, but it's also where you scratch your finger and sometimes cut your finger. Actually, yep. A couple of the third-party Joy-Con controllers, like the one that adds a D-pad, also those are even worse, honestly.
Oh yeah, by far they're so much worse.
Because I have a PDP one that was like specifically had a D-pad. Because I was using it when I was playing Puyo Puyo Tetris. Because I wanted like a good D-pad.
Wait, PDP made a Hori, like PDP made a D-pad Joy-Con. I thought that was Hori's thing.
Um, it may have been
Pretty sure it was
Hori,
Hori.
although it wouldn't surprise me if PDP also made one.
I don't recall PDP ever making that. I think that was just Hori's thing.
I don't remember. I just wanted a D-pad. That's all that mattered. Um,
Yeah,
Still,
that's fair.
what whoever did it the point still stands. Um, Joseph said, yeah, it should have been a pack-in game. Yes. And
Yeah.
whatever the sequel was, it should have been a pack-in game for the Switch OLED. Probably. That's
Yeah, that definitely it definitely should have.
yep.
Like I get like when they have the whole bundles of certain games out there, and that makes sense to bundle games. But like, why the hell does the base Switch not have a packing game either? Which is weird.
Is it still listed at full price? Like what wasn't the full price like
Correct.
$60 still?
Yes, it is still $60.
Yeah, okay. So literally no one's buying it. Got it. At this point no one's
Yeah.
buying it. Great. To me that if there was a waste of money for in the Switch life cycle, it was probably that game.
Yeah, and it's sad too because like that game's not really that bad when you play it. It's like one of the best tech demos I like.
Yeah,
Out there. It is
it's
straight up amazing.
it's
Because
it's a
you get to
fantastic
show
tech
off
demo.
like all the cool, like you get to show off all the cool features that the Joy Cons have, like with
Yep.
the motion control. Then you got the HD Rumble.
hmm
Oh, the
I actually
also
thought
pretty much
that
got it, like knowing orientation.
yeah,
And when you do like something like what, like draw, was it?
yeah, quick draw.
Yeah, like with a quick draw event.
Yeah, I actually think the only other game that actually was a great tech demo, surprisingly, as much as people don't like this game, but this was the one thing I liked about this game a lot, was Super Mario Party. Because you had to use the Joy-Cons. And because you had to use the Joy-Cons, they actually used a lot of the functions that almost all the functions that the Joy-Cons could do with Super
Yeah,
Mario Party.
exactly.
In fact, including the thing that blew my mind was the HD Rumble making noises, making little jingles. I was like, "What? You can do that with the Rumble?" Because like whenever it was your turn, it would like make a little, I don't know, da 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 with the HD Rumble. I was like, "Whoa, that's like." I wouldn't say it's a game changer, but it's like almost a replacement for like the speakers on the Wiimotes. But they're doing it just with HD Rumble. They're not even doing it with like a speaker. I thought that was
Yeah,
crazy.
and yeah, like that feature is very rarely used, but they did also use that in like, what was it, Mario Wonder, pretty much. So, yeah.
I haven't played it. I haven't played that to figure that out. But even like even just the simple act of like trying to find your controller, where you go into the settings and you're trying to look for your controller, it turns on the HD Rumble, and what's crazy is that whether it's the Joy-Con or the Pro controller, the vibration is always the same pitch. Like it always makes the same exact sound on the Pro controller or the Joy-Cons. Normally,
Right.
I don't know. It's almost a humming sound, and it's the same like volume or I guess yeah, pitch. And I just thought, wow. To me, I'm thinking like, okay, when the Switch 2 comes out, this is gonna be like this was just the beginning of HD Rumble. I think we're gonna be seeing like way more games make use of this now. Because to me, it makes sense that like not every game could really fully take advantage of the HD Rumble ideas. But now that like say Super Mario Party has sort of demonstrated what you could do with that, and plenty of other games have shown that yeah, you can like make this HD Rumble do things you probably can't do on literally any other controller, just because of how the HD Rumble works. Uh, like you may be seeing more games take advantage of that. So, um, so yeah, that's kind of cool. Anyway, it'd be interesting to see how they improve upon that with the new Joy Cons.
Yeah.
And the new Pro Controller. That's another thing that's a mystery at this point, because I think we saw the Pro Controller in the original Switch trailer when they were showing off Splatoon. Splatoon 2, I guess at the time. It was like the last game you saw was Splatoon 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so they only showed Mario Kart, but they didn't show anything other than the new Joy-Cons. So it'll be interesting what the new Dimension 87 says. Sup, bro? I've definitely seen you in another. I've seen you before. Where have I seen? Oh. It'll come back to me. But hey, what's up? You think Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon Legends AZ will be released on both the Switch 1 and 2?
I'm feeling that it might, considering that they announced the game to come out on Nintendo Switch, but since also it's possible that it's just going to release on Nintendo Switch, but it's going to be compatible with Switch 2 anyways, it wouldn't make sense to release like 2 different versions of the same exact game pretty much.
Well, I think I thought it was either Strange or someone I like met on Twitch or something. But okay, I had a feeling it was. I was gonna be like Strange, but I was like, nah, it can't be Strange. But okay, so it's Strange, right? Okay, but to answer your question, Joseph, I don't think it'll be both. I think it'll be one or the other. It'll be either Metroid Prime 4 or it'll be Pokemon Legends AZ or ZA. And I think the smarter one would be Pokemon, just because if you want a Nintendo system to like sell 20 million units in a month, put a Pokemon game on it. Whether the Pokemon is good or bad doesn't matter. It just, if it's a Pokemon game, that's gonna sell systems no matter what. Like when the 3DS was like, kind of running behind, as soon as a Pokemon game ended up being on the system, it just like freaking launched it into I don't know.
Yeah, it blew up.
Super success. So I think it would be smarter for them to put Pokemon Legends ZA, but I think for Nintendo fans, I think it would be better for Metroid Prime 4 in general. Actually, honestly, I think for Metroid Prime would be better if you wanted to get sort of the more hardcore gamer in there, because it's got more of a mature appeal than, say, a Pokemon game does. So if you wanted, that the typical Xbox or PlayStation gamer to be like, oh, this system looks kind of interesting, then put Metroid Prime 4 as your launch title. But I was going to follow up on your comment about them not putting, because they did that with Breath of the Wild. The Breath of the Wild was their first game on the Switch and their last game on the Wii U. Yeah,
that is true. They did that.
Yep.
So.
And they did that with actually, funnily enough, they've only ever done that with Zelda games, I think. Because Zelda Twilight Princess was a launch title on the Wii and one of the last titles on the GameCube.
That is true.
Yeah, because I think it was supposed to come out on the GameCube, but they released it on the Wii first, and then like on the GameCube the next week or something. Dimension 87 says, I do believe ZA will be available on both consoles. I do think yes. I think of both of those titles, I think the smartest thing would be Pokemon ZA, just to have think of this. Okay, in just 2025, having a big Pokemon game and a big Mario or Zelda, or both, Mario and Zelda, and a Mario Kart, from what we're seeing here, that's going to be uh, a fantastic just first year. Just having a Pokemon, Mario, or Zelda and a Mario Kart for the Nintendo fans out there, at least. That's going to be a banger first year for just first party Nintendo lineup, and I'm assuming they're going to have quite a few others, and probably a lot of third party support from what I saw. But do you want to add anything to that?
As like I was gonna say, pretty much like if here's the thing, since Pokemon Legends are is Z, Pokemon Legends ZA and also Metro Prime 4 were already announced to be on Nintendo Switch. I feel like they're gonna primarily just launch it on the Nintendo Switch, and since the Switch 2 is already gonna be backwards compatible with
That's
like Nintendo
true.
Switch games, it would make more sense that they're just going to release it on Nintendo Switch, and the Switch 2 is just eventually going to have it as a result, like no matter what.
That too. Like, I mean, releasing it on the Switch One won't prevent people won't prevent Switch 2 players from playing the game, right? So
Yeah.
you don't
going to be the
yeah, and it's not
as I was saying, it's going to be it's just going to pretty much it's going to not work vice versa pretty much. Where if it's released on Switch 2, then all the Switch 1 people who actually bought the original Switch just to play Metroid Prime 4 or Legends ZA are going to be pissed off, which you don't want.
yeah, and I guess it's not
Be a bad PR move.
yeah, and it's not like Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild was a anomaly case where it's like they like for the longest time it was promised to be on the Wii U, basically since the Wii U launched, right? So, or Breath of the Wild, I mean, and obviously the Switch is not backwards compatible with the Wii U. So if they're going to put it on the Switch, they have to make a whole different format. So they're like, okay, we're going to make it for both systems because, well, for like freaking 5 years, everyone's been thinking it's going to be on the Wii U. So we're going to launch it on the Wii U, but we also need something for the Switch, something to make the Switch last a couple years until we actually get some good games on here. And so that's why they had it on both systems, because they weren't compatible with each other. Unlike the Switch 2, which is going to be backwards compatible. So yeah, that actually makes sense. And with what people are saying that the Switch 2 is going to have DLSS and possibly being able to upgrade old Switch games, then you won't even need to make one, because the Switch is going to be able to do that anyway. The Switch 2 is going to be able to do that with Switch 1 games anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So how about the idea of Switch 2 having the ability to finally browse? Oh, you mean to have a browser? Well, we just sort of talked about that.
Yeah, we already discussed about that, and to like brief you on it, we're really hoping for the idea of it coming back, considering older consoles had it.
Yeah.
That's all we're gonna say. If you want to see the full discussion, you can go play back the video on exactly where we went for that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's just a Cliff Notes version of that. Like basically, the Wii, basically every system since the Wii, up the Wii, DSi, 3DS, and Wii U all had the ability to do that. So, and honestly, I used it on the Wii U a lot. A lot. I used it on the Wii U. Mainly because, specifically the Wii U. What was interesting about the Wii using it on the Wii U is you didn't have, if you're trying to, I don't know, stream anime or something, because of the way that the browser was made on the Wii U, you didn't have to watch any ads ever. So
yeah.
So yeah.
But it also, like, at the same time, the browser was also the infamous reason that a lot of Nintendo systems actually got hacked. Like, you homebrew on it quickly. Like, they literally were able to get homebrew installs quickly on like all those systems because of the browser, pretty much.
Yeah, and actually, I
Like
think
exploits in browsers.
the Wii U was so easy to do that onto because of the touchscreen. Like, like,
Yep.
I don't know. To me, I was like, there were times where I would just use the gamepad and nothing else for like
Right.
browser. And the screen was big enough to like warrant watching things on it or something. Because
Yep.
I wasn't it like I think it's the Wii U gamepad screen was like the same size as the Switch screen, but just obviously much lower resolution. But just concrete screen size. I think it's like 6 inches or something, right? 6.5 or something. Whatever the case
I
may be.
believe so. Yeah.
Obviously, the OLED screen is a lot bigger, or considerably bigger. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it's definitely going to have a browser or something akin to a browser. Maybe not. What It wouldn't surprise me if Nintendo sort of makes their own proprietary browser. That would be interesting.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Hmm.
And like if they don't use something like based off like a Google Chrome browser, then that would be great because obviously while Chrome has dominated the market
Hmm.
for browsers, it is like by far one of the worst browsers at this point. Like
Well,
it
yeah,
is not like
yeah, and it's like obviously Chrome 2 is the most prone to hacking. So
yep.
uh, if they were to do some sort of browser, I think they would. What I'm thinking they're gonna do finally is they're not gonna bring back Miiverse, but they're going to bring back some sort of Nintendo social media, and it may involve a proprietary browser, like maybe it'll be I don't know Nintendo Explorer or something. I don't know, Nintendo uh, Nintendo Web or something. Nintendo Web makes sense. Or Switch Web, maybe.
Yeah, I believe so.
Switch Web, Switch Web could work. And then the Switchverse for if they have some sort of Miiverse replacement, Switchverse could make sense. Um,
Yeah.
or maybe even if it's not uh, Miiverse, maybe if it's not like Miiverse, but maybe it has a sort of like maybe if it works a little maybe on the lines of something like I don't know because I'm trying to remember what it's been forever since I even touched Miiverse to even remember like how the posting system worked. You know what? It was almost like Amino. You ever used Amino?
Oh yeah, I've used Amino a few times, but I
Yeah,
deleted my Amino account a long time ago.
yeah. To me, now that I'm thinking about it, Miiverse kind of reminds me of Amino, because like Amino had very specific like little groups you could join based on games essentially or based on really anything, but Miiverse did it kind of like that where you would join groups based on specific games, right? So maybe they would just sort of make their own version of Amino or I don't know Reddit. I don't know if we want to go into that rabbit hole, but possibly. How do you?
The idea of Game Pass for the Switch, I think it's going to be a terrible idea for a
Yes,
business perspective because considering that how many companies are like just going to be getting the games for free and essentially Nintendo's going to be losing money by doing this, it essentially also de-emphasizes the idea that you need to get physical games, which is what we don't want in the industry. And
I agree.
especially considering like how about a lot of people like think about how many people actually bought Game Pass and hardly buy actual physical copies for Xbox One games. That is how bad it is right now because hardly anyone's buying physical games because of this, and it also leads into more the fact that the scummy practice that if the Game Pass goes away, you essentially lose access to all those games that you had time playing all those
Exactly.
years ago. So
Not only
we
that,
at like go ahead.
I was going to say not only that, but there's also just the simple fact that the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2 are handheld systems. So there's only like so much storage they could put on that. And and obviously with the original Switch, you had 32, 64 max gigabytes onboard storage. Not everyone goes out and immediately buys an SD card. So not everyone's going to be able to have the space to download, 50 games. Even a couple games. Like you download on the original Switch, you download Breath of the Wild and you download, I don't know, Smash Brothers, and that's it. That's all you got space for.
So
Having
thing to know, Nintendo's never gonna release a game on PC. Pretty much, they are their own platform. They will release on mobile, but only because it's a different market, and it's not even like that. These games that they make for mobile are actual full releases. The only game that literally survived throughout this entire time when Nintendo made games for mobile is Fire Emblem Heroes, and even that game is right now in a bit of a mess, considering this power creep in that game is atrocious.
Well, yeah, true. Because even like Mario Kart Tours, in my opinion, there's a reason Nintendo ported all the like half of those tracks to Mario Kart 8 because no one was playing them on tours. So they're like, well, we made some good courses over here, so let's put them on where people are actually playing the game. I mean, like if Nintendo, yeah, that's another thing too. Game Pass in general, I think, just the model of Game Pass is horrible for consoles. Again, look at the Xbox. For gamers, it's great, right? For the consumer, awesome. We get to you pay a certain amount of money a month, and you get free games. Hooray! Netflix, gotcha. Well, look at what's happening to all these movie streaming services that are trying to compete with Netflix. You got freaking Paramount Plus, you got Disney Plus, you got Hulu Plus, you got freaking all these thousands of streaming platforms that are basically going out of business. All of these movies that all these other companies had, they're back on Netflix because they couldn't sustain themselves. Because the general consumer can only reasonably pay so much money for multiple streaming services, right? So if it's that bad for movie streaming, which is only like how much? What? $8 to $12 a month, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
For each service.
Yeah, and
Xbox Game Pass is like what, 60?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
60.
let's just say that for example for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, but this also adds in more to the problem that, like, we've seen the writer's strike go on. This is not the first time this actually happened. This is the first time it's gotten this horrendously bad. That it's going like that. It's harming like more than just the industry. It is harming the lives of all these directors, the writers, the people who are actors, and all the above, except for the people who are at the very top, pretty much. This is why everyone's hating this model right now, and as much as Game Pass is a great thing, we can accept that it is. The problem is that this actually is hurting more companies in the long run because of this.
Yeah, true. Because not only
everyone's buying the game at that point.
Yeah, because
we're either going to see pirates of the game, or we're going to see pretty much waiting for the game to be on Game Pass. Then we don't actually need to pay like a big amount of money for the game. We could just get the game like this.
Yeah, because honestly, it's bad for both Xbox and the third part. Any developer that is involved in making the games. Because here's what happens, right? Xbox gets all the money from Game Pass, but it's only the monthly payment. They're not getting, a chunk of the money every time someone buys the game because no one's actually buying the game. Imagine if all those people playing them games on Game Pass bought every single one of them games, right? Uh, Obviously, the third-party companies would be, or whoever's making the games that are putting them on Game Pass. It's, I mean, it's a lot. It's third-party and first-party companies that are doing it. But imagine all them third-party companies. They'd be getting probably hundreds of millions of dollars. They're losing out on hundreds of millions of dollars. Um,
And on the topic of also like Game Pass, pretty much, Nintendo Switch already technically has one with their old school library of the NES, SNES, N64, and with the Sega games, like all under like subscription model, pretty much for the online play. People really hated it. People straight up just hated the model, pretty much, and it shows because like while it's true that it's most of it comes down to the fact that the now like free to play online is now paid for. The main thing that's bugging people a lot right now is not even just that. Like, people have gotten over that fact. It's the fact that these, like, old school games are being locked under a subscription.
Also,
it sucks because
DRM.
Like, once that subscription runs out, no one wants it.
Yeah, and it's essentially DRM too. It's great that, you know, if you're paying, and granted, on Nintendo side, it's a little less of a headache because it's just cheaper, but still, you know, paying nothing and then all of a sudden paying something is it, you know, I'm just saying it's not like it's not like you don't have to work and make money to therefore afford, you know, suddenly pay for something. But I'm just saying, all these games, even in Nintendo's model, and to me it makes more sense with retro to do something like that because of course you don't have, you know, you're playing a new system. 90% of these games you're only going to find in like a classic game store, and you may not even find them there if you're not lucky that day. So for retro games in particular, it makes sense to have something like that. But they've also shown in previous systems with the Virtual Console, which I just like that model better because it, like, say, I use the Virtual Console on the Wii U a ton. I bought most of the Zelda games that were available through the Virtual Console on the Wii U. Once you buy that, you can access it. Like in fact, on my Wii U right now, the Nintendo Wii U servers are down. You can still play those games that you bought on the eShop, right? If the Nintendo Switch Online service, like, say in the next 2 years, if they discontinue the original Switch Online service, you're not going to be able to play those games on the original Switch. You may be able to play them on the new Switch, but that's them basic. Like, if you got the Nintendo Switch just to play those, they're basically forcing you to buy a $400 console to play retro games, right?
Right.
And
here's one thing.
I was gonna say, and they're forcing you to buy a whole $400 console, and also you still have to pay $20 to $60, or I think it's like $45 a month on top of that to actually play the games. So, you know, overall, I think it's not necessarily. I don't blame Nintendo. To me, they're just following trends. But just the model in and of itself is not a good idea. But anyway, go ahead.
Like, on the topic of what Dimension's saying, like, you'd actually be surprised. You do have people out there that are deciding to drop the $70 price on day one games because they want to support the developers. Here's the thing. We're not arguing that that's not a non-existent group. What we're arguing is that the majority of the people who actually ended up getting the game, and then later they don't want to pay for the Game Pass, suddenly they lost the game immediately. That's the problem. People don't want to do that. So now it just forces into a scummy practice of the subscription model that we don't want. Right. and that literally a fact that we lose the physical game as well, pretty much, and like we lose the physical media is what's fearing a lot of people, oh, and including some developers that they want the games to last forever. However, they don't want the people who actually got the game to suddenly lose the game, and DRM policies are pretty scary right now.
That's
To
another
deal with.
annoying thing too, because like just DRM in general, anything that involves DRM, like with Game Pass, don't you need to be connected to the internet to play any of the games you have on Game Pass?
Well, I can't confirm either that myself
I mean, it
because I
would.
haven't like
I've had Game Pass like once, and the entire time I was connected to the internet, so I had no way to confirm or deny. But it would make sense if you, because they have to check if you are still, you know, on the Game Pass service, right? So that you could actually play those games. So if you're all of a sudden not connected to the internet and they can't verify that you have the Game Pass service, then why would they let you play the game? Yeah, technically no. So so probably if you're already playing the game and you're suddenly disconnect to the internet, they're probably not going to kick you out of the game. But if you're not connected to the internet and you have a Game Pass game and you try to play that game, they're going to be like, "Hey, connect to the internet so we can verify that you have Game Pass." Right? So therefore it's DRM essentially. And that's kind of how the Nintendo Switch Online retro games do it too, because they're like, uh, obviously you can't connect to Nintendo Switch, Super Nintendo games and play them off the internet. They have to verify that you have the service, and the only way to do that is through being connected to the internet. So
right.
yeah, that you know what doesn't do that? Virtual Console. You buy the game, it's on your system. The end.
Yep.
Yep.
And like as we said already as well, technically you don't want to have a Game Pass model for the games because they give pretty decent downloads. But you're referring to the fact that they give a game had the Game Pass PC library on the Switch. So that's the thing. We don't technically we don't exactly want that, considering that it's also going to hurt. Like because if that's the majority of way of how people get the game, that hurts the developers more. A, like a lot of developers have spoken out about piracy. A majority of them have not had an issue with piracy because the majority that are talking about the piracy being a problem are people who actually realize that they have a problem when they come to marketing the game. So they would deal so people would rather deal with the pirates if the game is harder for them to get. Such as, for example, one company, Steam as well, for the biggest example. They actually he pointed out that if the game is not being localized in a certain area, yet a pirate is doing the work for them, and they're giving the game away for free because of it, they actually are losing. It's not that they are losing profits on it. It's just that they are essentially doing a worse service. So what they want to do and how you actually combat that is give a better service. That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. And, like you want to give the better service than what is pretty much the pirate's going to give you. That's what gives you more money. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
really want to fight with anti-piracy measures
It's
because that only encourages piracy even more.
yeah,
But-
yeah.
so you wanna actually
Beat the
combat that.
pirates. You got to beat the pirates.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the piracy is always going to be there. It anytime
Yeah.
anytime a
piracy
new
is always going to be.
anytime a new technology comes out, there's going to be people that are going to try and not have to pay for it. So if you
Right.
want to beat those people, you got to make people want to pay for it. And
Yeah, and the best way to do that is literally offer a better service to them. Whereas the Game Pass, it seems like a good service, on paper. It's
Mhm.
actually very contradictory because what actually you're benefiting is the actual company who actually has the console, who like the
Yeah,
platform that it's
yeah,
put
yeah.
out on.
Yeah,
pretty much.
you're
That's what makes Game Pass problematic right now.
you're benefiting
why
the
a lot of
one
people
in
are
control
not
of Game Pass, because yeah, you're the only one profiting off of Game Pass is Xbox. Like Ubisoft isn't profiting off of Game Pass. They're profiting off of individual purchases of the games. And theoretically, in order to get their game on Game Pass, it makes more sense to me that, I don't know, who, like, say, I don't know, either EA or, you know, a third party company says, okay, I want to put my game in Game Pass. Who's paying for that? Like, is Xbox saying, okay, we're going to give you so and so amount of money to put it on Game Pass? Or is it Ubisoft saying, hey, can we pay Xbox this amount of money to put it on Game Pass? Like, who's it may be a two-way contract, I don't know. But that would be something interesting to find out. Like, who's paying who to put it on Game Pass? You know?
Now, the thing is that they make your game more accessible, especially like the old school games. That's the point we've been arguing about the entire time, is that if you want to actually beat the pirates at their own game, you essentially have to create a service that actually the consumer would rather deal with than go to a pirate.
Yeah.
That's what the accessible part is, pretty much, you're arguing about. No one's arguing that it's not a bad idea. What we're arguing is the pirate doing a better service to the consumer than the actual company that's making the game? Because if so, then that's like not that's not the pirate's fault at that point. The pirate is doing the consumers a favor that they want to, that they actually feel like it's better. They don't care if the company is sinking below, because then it's kind of showing that the company is making like terrible decisions and making you pay for something that you like, overpaying for something essentially, or in a way it's offering you a service that you actually don't feel like it's enough value.
Yeah,
that's
like
why a lot of people don't like. That's why piracy has been running rampant at times.
Yeah, case in point.
Like if
case in point, Nintendo Switch Online. What's the percent? Like, how many people do you think are paying to play the retro games on Nintendo Switch Online over just emulating them? I would venture to guess the majority of people playing the games that are available on Nintendo Switch Online through the Super Nintendo, NES, and all that, they've probably already been playing them on emulators a long time ago, and they're probably still playing them on emulators over playing it through Nintendo Switch Online. The majority of people, I would even say, get the Nintendo Switch Online service is just to play the games online. They don't get it for the Super Nintendo, NES stuff. Now, the thing that they advertise is that you can play the multiplayer online with friends. Now that's an incentive, right? That a lot of emulators, they can do that, but they require a lot of weird stuff you got to do. Whereas, through Nintendo Switch Online, you can play multiplayer like on Super Mario Kart, for example, with someone who also has Nintendo Switch Online. Now, in what you were saying, that makes sense to be like, that would be one incentive to get it over pirating the game, right? Because that's the thing. That's the thing with emulators, is that not everyone has the same emulator, whereas on the Nintendo Switch Online, everyone has the same Nintendo Switch Online, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But going on to that point, pretty much, it's like, here's Dimension saying, honestly, you do both, not gonna lie. Yeah, a lot of loopholes. The thing is that like what we're arguing right here, it's not that people don't do both. It's that the majority of people who are doing playing the Nintendo Switch games, like on the retro games on the Nintendo Switch, compared to like emulators, are like a majority of them are probably in the same exact group. But most of these people would rather play either on the emulator because they just had like a better way of getting games pretty much played on there compared to the Nintendo Switch, or like what's really going on with the Nintendo Switch is that they don't want to pay the subscription of the Nintendo Switch Online constantly. If they, like, most of the people who are paying for the online are paying for the online ability to play online. They don't really care about like the
Yep.
like the Nintendo emulators for the old school stuff.
Yeah,
That's
they
the
probably
that's what it is.
they probably don't even. There's probably a lot of people that don't even know that's a thing, because we're far beyond the point of like, because when they were first rolling out Nintendo Switch Online, most people knew about that, but now I would venture to guess the majority of like newcomers to the Switch don't even know that you can download like an NES online, Super NES online, and all that. Um, so at that point, what are people paying for other than just to play online with friends, right? Um, Whereas people who are people who play emulators, like the, uh, in like 99% of cases, they're gonna have a better experience playing on an emulator than on the Switch. Um,
Right. And another thing is that
mhm,
like here's the thing. It's not that the like people are not willing to break the bread or like spend the money or not willing to spend the money. They are. The problem is that like as we went back to like why piracy has been running rampant is that the piracy problem is coming down to the fact that the actual consumer is not wanting to spend the
mhm.
money mainly just to do a service. They want the good service, not just a random bad service.
Yeah.
That's what's been the main cause. People like if you look at the market, they are spending the money just for the consoles pretty much. They are willing to spend it seems like they're willing to spend money on the game. However, if the game service is horrendously bad, why would they pay for it? When the pirate is doing the exact same thing but for a cheaper price essentially. They would rather spend the money towards the pirate because the pirate is offering them a better service than what the official company is doing.
Yeah.
So how does the company fight back? By literally offering a better incentive and a better service in the beginning. So they combat that easily, and you'd be surprised how often that actually beats out a lot of the piracy problems.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll bet
Majority of the
you.
piracy problems were taken down like that.
Yeah. I'll bet you. Nintendo Switch 2 comes out the gate with a browser, just a browser. Um, yeah, a browser that you can access through, like, if you use Nintendo Switch Online, you can access the browser, and maybe the whatever like social media aspect they have. Um, that in itself would be uh, a a reason to keep the you know Nintendo Switch Online service at the basic level, like a Nintendo exclusive thing too, because like that's one of the reasons I still, man, I'm nostalgic for the Wii U for that precise reason. Miiverse, right? Um, Say Nintendo Switch 2 comes out with another replacement for Miiverse. Um, Obviously, if they make it so that you have to pay for it, that just comes with the territory, I guess. I don't know. But if it's just like the base Nintendo Switch Online that everyone's already basically paying for now, like, I don't know. At least it's a better service than the Switch 1 would have for the same price, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Um, and that would be, I guess, an example of a better service, right? In in Game Pass's case, everyone who's buying Game Pass is basically buying it to not have to pay for games, right? So,
In a way, yes.
yeah,
But
essentially.
what's really problematic is that it's not a permanent game essentially
Well, yeah.
that they're keeping. It's
Well,
only a like a copy, but it's also hurting the. But why it's hurting the developers is because it's mostly profiting towards Microsoft's service rather
yeah.
than the actual company who just publishes the game. And it
Mhm.
and because this service is so good for the consumer, it hurts the companies in the long run because these games are coming out primarily onto Game Pass. Then suddenly, like the people who are making these games don't get enough profit off it. Like people have said that they don't mind the piracy problems as long as as long as the majority of the people who are paying for the game are paying pretty much primarily for the game at the full price it is, or even like if it's at a slightly discounted price. Like people are willing to pay like the full 70, people are willing to pay the 60, probably 50. Heck,
Yep.
some people are willing to just wait until it's at 30 and then they'll just buy the game. And but if the majority of the people who are playing your game are paying only like what, like a dollar to the company to get a copy of the game, it's starting to show that this is more of a problem, that it's not that they can actually get the game. It's that it's hurting the companies because they're making barely pennies off this now.
Yeah, well,
Not like
the ones who are saving money in this situation are Microsoft. They're the only ones saving money. In fact, because they don't have to pay the other companies to, because that's another thing. The discs cost money to put the games on the discs for these companies. Imagine having to print 5 million discs. I think a blank disc is like, what, $7?
I think so.
Something like that.
We could look that up.
So if they got to print 5 million discs, that's 5 times 7, $35 million just on the discs alone. That's if you just take the discs out of the equation, Microsoft doesn't have to spend money putting these games on the discs. The only one saving money is Microsoft. The developers still had to spend all that money making the game, right? So, yep. And I mean, that goes for digital purchases as well. But at least in a digital purchase, the third-party companies or the developers are still getting a piece of that pie because they're paying a full price for the game. So unlike with Game Pass, where the only price they're paying is to Microsoft to use a service. Like, they're not paying for a product, they're paying for a service, and that's the problem.
Well, here's on the topic of what the mentioned saying that the consumer side, they're saving money. It is true that they are technically saving money for if you're one of the consumers. However, that cost of saving the money is not exactly helpful for the companies who are making the game, is what we're arguing. Because the Game Pass, its model itself, is more benefiting Microsoft rather than the company who actually is making it. Because at the end of the day, the store, the Game Pass itself is Microsoft's way of putting games for a very cheap price under a subscription, just for the people who want to actually get the games, essentially. So
Game Pass is
good for the consumer. This screws over the companies in the long run because hardly anyone's actually buying the game now. Instead, they're just playing the game for free and this comes down back to the fact that why piracy has been harmful, but at the same time, when we mention why piracy is technically not always morally incorrect, it's more they're showing that, hey, people are paying for this service more than actually buying the game, with our service, pretty much. Why would they go anywhere else? They're willing to spend the money after all.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of an analogy to if you think of Game Pass as I almost want to say the Walmart of video games, because if you think of Walmart, right, in comparison to other big box stores, Walmart always has fixed cheap prices in comparison to the other stores, because there's certain business practices, shady business practices that they do to make these products cheaper that ultimately benefit Walmart and not the people who make the products, right? So in that same, and that's why you want to go to something, you want to go to I don't know, if you're trying to buy electronics or something, you want to go to Best Buy or something instead of Walmart, because you're actually benefiting the person who made the product more by going to Best Buy or another store or something like that. But in the same sort of idea, my cat is clawing stuff. In the same sort of idea, Game Pass is like that, where purchasing stuff, or not even purchasing, just using that service is benefiting basically only Microsoft and no one else. Um, I do want to kind of move on from this because we've been talking about this for like
Yeah.
almost an
Yeah.
hour.
And yeah.
And we haven't talked about the Switch for a while. The Switch 2, I should say.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The last thing I remember talking about was the mouse, and I think talking about the browser sort
Yeah.
of branched off into that sort of
Yeah.
discussion.
And on the topic of that, I think like it seems like that the grips itself seems like it has a slippery coating on it, and so that way it's easier to move it around on something like a table, oh, pretty much. So yeah.
Oh, so you're talking about what like timestamp are you on?
Literally the same timestamp you're on as well. Like I'm showing like when they're gliding across on the
Yeah.
like on the surface, pretty much.
Yeah, so
It
it's
seems like that they're gonna have a slippery start, like something like on the very bottom of your, like some of your mice, pretty much.
yeah, like a
It's the
mouse.
same
Yeah.
exact concept. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's probably gonna have the same coating.
I bet you like what if they released the system and that inside the box is a mouse pad?
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me too much. I would be impressed if they actually did.
No, yeah, I'm saying that would be a great if there's a mouse capability here, why not have a
Right.
Nintendo Switch themed mouse pad? Just like it's literally just like it's just a mouse pad with like the Switch console on it or just a Switch logo, Switch 2 logo
Right.
or whatever. Like if there's a mouse capability, why not have a mouse pad? Why not have a little like if they make a game that sort of shows off the capability of this mouse kind of idea because we're also seeing both Joy-Cons are able to be used as a mouse, apparently, right? So what if maybe it's like a secondary like accessory you can buy, but what if they make some sort of thing where it's like if you're playing it on your TV, they make some sort of I don't know lap accessory where when you're sitting on the couch, you got your controller in your lap. They have this little lap table that has a mouse pad on it, and you use that as your mouse pad instead of having to use your palm or something, right? So it wouldn't surprise me if or maybe they get some third-party companies to make some little things to make this mouse thing work better than using it on your leg or your palm or your couch chair arm or something.
Right.
Yeah, and maybe I would be interested in what the DPI of this is if there is a sort of browser thing, like if it's adjustable DPI like some of the like more expensive mouses are. But
Yeah.
and that what coming SWTOR? What's that? Coming to the Switch? I don't know.
I don't know.
Wishful thinking. What's SWTOR? I don't remember. Anyway,
I don't.
freaking. It sounds like it would be some sort of game, obviously. Anyway, there was something else on. Oh, I think the new instead of the you know how the Nintendo Switch little like the sound everyone associates with the Switch is the Joy-Con click sound, right?
Right.
I think
Yep.
I think here it's going instead of being I sort of I don't know onomatopoeia'd it myself, but instead of a Switch click, it's going to be a Switch clap. That's sort of the sound I heard when they were like connecting the Joy-Cons to the Switch. Like if you go to maybe 122 and you listen to like the sounds. Yeah, it sounds more like
I can hear it.
it sounds almost like a slap, like a whip crack or something. Or I guess a clap.
Well, yeah.
Star Wars: The Old Republic. Oh. Really? Interesting. Okay. But yeah, it's instead of a click, it's a I almost want to say snap, but that's basically what the switch click is. But yeah, it's more of a it's a clap. That's what it is. So that's
Sounds like a clap effect. So.
so that's when the commercials come on. I almost think like, so you know how in the Switch commercials, it's just it's essentially all it is
Yep.
that, right? It's just
Right.
this is up and it just clicks in. On the on the Switch 2 commercials, I almost think they're gonna do something where it's like, if I go to widescreen here, the commercial's gonna like open up and it's gonna go like that or something, and you're gonna hear the little clap sound for the commercials, and that's gonna be their like little. That's gonna be their, iconic sound for the Switch 2. And I think I went a little ahead of myself there, but I guess the start of that little scene is at 117, where they move over to the Joy-Cons and the Switch. By the way, this just looks like a freaking phone, or like a big tablet. It looks more angular than the original Switch does. Like if you go to 117, like the original Switch is kind of rounded on that. Well, you're seeing everything I'm seeing, but it looks more rounded on the edges, like where the Joy-Cons click in. There's like a little indentation here, and then going around the bottom, there's like a rounded edge there, and it goes all the way around. Rounded edge. This looks more square, if you know what I mean. At 117, that is.
Yeah. I going over there.
Yeah. Give me just a
Yeah.
moment. I gotta feed my cat. Take.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Take it away for me for a minute.
Sounds good. And pretty much on the topic of like this, because like we're actually seeing that the Switch is like how it's going through, like the Switch's direction on what it's going with. Yeah, we went from finger snapping to hand clapping. Yeah, it seems like it, and I think it's going to be a good change considering that how the Switch Joy-Cons attached, like the Switch 2's Joy-Cons attached now is clipping it onto the side. It makes sense. It would be a clapping sound instead of a snapping sound, where when you snap your fingers, your hands go into opposite directions. Whereas you clap your hands, you try to put them together. So it makes sense if it would be a clapping sound, which would be very fitting. And the design of this actually looks a lot better now because it's more like rounded out. So we don't have to worry about this too much, which is great too. Oh, yeah. S2 gives you hope for more PC mobile titles to be played on the device. I can see that being a thing. Like one thing that's been memed around, I recall, has been Genshin Impact on the Switch, and that's been around since the game launched, like before even the game launched. Actually, I should say. Okay, and like Pokemon Trading Card game. Oh my god, yeah, that would be cool if they had the Pokemon Trading Card game here on like a version of that game on like on Switch too. So yeah, that would be nice.
I'm
But
back.
yeah, yeah. As far as nice. And as far as what we know, like apparently the hardware specs allegedly are a little bit more powerful. They have a better GPU and a more powerful CPU. But that's all we know about, and that's like nothing in terms of news. What we know about, pretty much,
All right.
because
What I
technically
miss?
that's expected. So pretty much what you missed is just what we're discussing, like how we went from like finger snapping to hand clapping, and how like the Joy-Cons now attached to the side, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna give like just a little bit of a comment on the sort of, I guess, the new sound they want you to associate, because like to me that was one of the, like, kind of the, I don't know, the cool things about the Switch to me when they were first just showing off the thing. they wanted you to associate that click sound with the Switch. Anytime you heard that sound, you knew it. Oh, okay. We're getting some Switch news. We're getting a Switch commercial. We're getting a Switch something, right? And I think so. They're wanting to differentiate the the click with the clap, so you know. Okay, you hear that clap sound, something Switch 2 related is about to happen. And whether it's a commercial on your TV or whether it's uh, a YouTube ad or something, so that it's like at this point the Switch click is like extremely iconic sound. Probably, I think it's probably more iconic than at this point than like the GameCube startup sound or the Game Boy like ding or something. Uh, I'm trying to think of like another, I don't know, sound that you would associate with a system that's like more iconic than the Switch at this point. Maybe the Xbox little zing sound it makes, but I can't think of anything else. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Just at
I
this,
can't think of anything else either.
I guess the PS2 I remember having a pretty like I always liked the startup sound of the PS2. It's just a simple like I don't know sci-fi like sound. But anyway, um, so was there anything else they showed? They showed the games obviously, but after they clicked the Joy-Cons in, what else did they show? Oh yeah, they showed
Then they
that
showed it pretty much showing.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it showed 2, and then it's gonna show like pretty much that we got a new Mario Kart after like going over all of the overview
Mhm.
of what it looks like in full. And
Yeah.
we got our new Mario Kart pretty much at like 141.
Yeah. Okay. So, I was interested in sort of the graphical upgrade here, but it doesn't look like this particular video is high enough resolution to convey the actual game's resolution. Like it looks kind of blurry from my end. Are you seeing that? Like
I can sort of see that, but I think that's mostly because like how YouTube compression with 1080p video and like also
yeah.
like could be at times, so it's like normal.
Yeah, because I'm trying to see if anything here looks better than it would look in Mario Kart 8. And like what the
Yeah.
character models and all that, they look like. I'm trying to see. Do these carts look like you built the carts?
Let's see.
Are they keeping the cart builder uh, mechanic? It looks like.
It doesn't. It doesn't look like it so far, but it's hard to tell based off this whole thing. So, but we'll see. Because
Mhm.
considering that the cart building mechanic was actually pretty unique, but and also like really cool for its time. However, we know for a fact that Mario Kart Tour didn't do that, so it's possible
Yeah.
we're probably just going back to preset carts, and that's fine. Honestly, it's not that bad to deal with.
Yeah, because I'm looking
That's
at
it.
these carts here, and it doesn't look like any of the carts have the same tires. Like I'm trying to see if anything here, because that would be the easiest way to tell if it's yeah, they all look different, different chassis and different
Yeah.
tires. We do have bikes still, but even the bikes have different like wheels than any of the other. I'm not seeing anything related to anti-gravity either. I don't know. Does it? Is there
Yeah.
in Mario Kart 8?
It's hard.
Is it easy to tell that there's an anti-grav mechanic when there's not when they're not in anti-grav mode? Because I know like on the bikes in particular, there's obviously like a little hinge on the bikes to tell you that it's capable of going in anti-grav mode.
It's when the tires pretty much go from vertical, like from portrait mode, and like how do you to being on a landscape. So essentially, they turn 90 degrees on the tires,
Well, yeah, but like
and that's how you easily can tell. But
I
as
just
far
mean
as
like
actual segments of it,
y- y-
it's
yeah,
not really very well defined. It's not very well defined, but you can
yeah.
see it in some like some trailer videos. But it's not like I'll admit, the Mario Kart 8 anti-gravity mechanic was pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the way that the game plays, you don't really feel anti grav, right? The camera always
Yeah.
is in a fixed position. So, like, even though you can see the track fluctuating, once you're at the point that it fluctuates, it just feels like a normal part of the track. So,
Yep.
it the only thing that the anti-grav mechanic did was make it so that you could make more sort of dynamic angles in the track, right? Like you weren't confined to
Yeah.
a flat plane. Um, although there are plenty of tracks before the anti-grav that were pretty chaotic in the inclines and stuff. Like freaking even just DK Mountain and DK Summit were vertical enough in their own right to where they didn't even need an anti-grav segment because they were already steep enough. But like um, to me the only reason to have had like even something like Mario Kart Stadium to have that uh, anti-grav mechanic was just to have an excuse to uh, I guess build up to a point where you can glide off that edge or something. Like to me, it didn't.
Right.
It's not a. It's not like a game-changing mechanic where it makes the. It didn't make Mario Kart 8 feel different from Mario Kart 7, right? It still feels like you're playing
Right.
Mario Kart 7 just with better graphics.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then your
And
wheels
that's
turn
a
sideways. The end.
yeah. And it's kind of sucks that it is like that, but we'll have to live with it like that.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it's not like the worst thing out there, considering like it's just hey, it was experimental at the time, and they just wanted to try to boost sales, so it made sense that to play with the safe formula. Now, like I feel like they want to try more with it, like they want to experiment more with the formula now. So
Speaking
it's really
of,
nice of
we're
them.
seeing with this Mario Kart demo at least, we're seeing one character per kart. So everyone can ditch their hopes of Double Dash 2 right out the gate. um,
Yep.
I almost think, well, in my opinion, so if they're ditching the anti gravity mechanic, I wonder. This actually, in my opinion, gives them a new chance to sort of re-innovate with the Mario Kart mechanics. Because now that they have to do something. If they're gonna do anything new, they have to do something other than anti gravity, right? So,
Right.
yeah. Uh, oh, but yeah. Oh, my roommate just came home. Uh, okay.
Let's see. The Rosalina car honestly looks more like a sled than a car. I can see that
Smells good
honestly,
up
and
here.
no, it's definitely like a snowmobile car. Or looking at it
Yep.
more, when I look at
Now,
it.
um, once you get to 147, you see the dock, the Switch 2 dock. Um,
Yeah.
did they show how much bigger? How much bigger did they show the Switch 2 looking over
They never
Switch 1?
specified anything about it. They
Oh,
never specified it.
you see it on 014. It like
Yeah.
increases by that looks like about an inch, like diagonally. At 14, it looks like about an
Is
inch.
that new food that you put in there?
New food?
No food. Food. Is it new? The cat food.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just put it in there. I'm live streaming right now.
Yeah, and you use the last of the milk.
Oh, you still there? Or
I muted for a second.
okay, then that's fine. Well, anyways, I'll just continue the conversation pretty much on. But yeah, we haven't really got any specifications on like how much bigger it is in comparison. But it's just owing that like if we look at the Switch Joy-Con grip right here, like we can see that they pretty much slide the Joy-Cons, like slide the Joy-Cons onto it and just snap it in pretty much. And on the topic of that, it's Dimension saying like you heard some people saying thinking that it is too easy to detach. Here's the thing. They aren't exactly using magnet systems, as we have shown that they're actually still using the clip system. It's just a lot more discreet now, and it's a lot harder to accident, and it'll show like it's harder to break. As if we show like the Joy-Con going into their like the new Joy-Cons pretty much going into the grips essentially,
Mhm.
we see a little indent on the top and bottom pretty much of the Joy-Cons where they're gonna snap in like that.
Yeah, it's
And
it's not.
essentially how you take it out, you just pretty much just push on a button and it just releases the hinge essentially that it's clipping onto.
Yeah, it's not it's almost it's like it's not necessarily it's not a magnet. It's a plug. It's just a plug. Um,
Yeah,
like it's like your. In fact, it looks literally just like a USB plug or something, like similar to how a USB um, plug would work or something. But it's probably if they're making like the iconic sound of the system, the clap, it probably will sound something similar to that when you plug it in, when you click it in or something. Because like when you click the Joy Cons onto the original Switch, it actually makes like a click sound, not the sound you hear,
and,
in the commercials, but similar to it.
and the
So
part of slightly slipping off sometimes when you're playing in handheld mode is not really an actual concern. Honestly, like looking at the design, it is it looks like it's gonna be very difficult to accidentally like wiggle it off unless you
yeah,
intentionally hit the back button, which is probably like it's supposed. I think it's supposed to be
yeah,
a little bit easier to hit, but not like in a way where you accidentally hit the damn thing like while you're playing.
yep,
Because we've seen like this over and over again with the actual Nintendo Switch, where the button, like people were getting worried that like the Switch locking mechanism is not going to be strong enough because at some point the Switch is going to slip itself. Like while you're holding one of your
mhm,
Joy Cons is going to slip upwards. We
yeah.
haven't really seen any major big cases of that, other than an occasional mishandling of the whole system.
Yeah, I think I have had that happen, but that was with the Joy-Con grip rather than the Switch system itself. Now, what I will say is I do sometimes have problems where the Joy-Con won't disconnect from the Switch, like it won't come off the Switch, but it will disconnect, as in, like the Switch won't recognize that it's on the Switch, right? Like
Right.
there's times where I'll be sitting and playing it with the Joy Cons attached, but at some point it won't detect that the Switch Joy-Con is on it, so I have to take it off and then click it back on, and then it remembers that it's on. Uh, with these, it looks more like that just literally can't happen unless there is something blocking the little contacts on the plug. But as long as you keep that area of the Joy Cons clean and I guess scratch free, like it'll always stay in contact and it won't like disconnect or anything.
Right.
I do wonder what the battery life of the individual Joy Cons are going to be. Like, are they going to be? I think isn't it 20 hours for the left and right?
The regular ones, yeah, the
Yeah.
regular ones are 20 hours long. So if this one's meant to be an improvement and the battery life is expected to be longer, I could expect a 30-hour battery
Yeah.
life at like I could expect a 30-hour battery life to be like the standard on how it is. I'd be more impressed if it somehow got 40, to be honest. Considering all the tech that's
Hmm.
in there, in such a small size too, I'd be impressed if they somehow got 40 hours of battery life on there. Like the 20 hours is already impressive enough considering all the tech that's in there. So
Yeah.
if it can get more than that, then like if it can get more than like the 30 hours, I'd be very impressed. I'm not like saying that I'm not going to be impressed if it's like like less than 30, but still more than 20 because my expectations of that is like that's expected at that point
Yeah.
considering like the technology we have. pretty
Yeah,
much shown in the Joy-Cons.
and even the 20-hour battery life of the Joy-Cons is plenty for anything you'd be using it for, because for the most part, especially if you're taking the system on the go, you're gonna have the Joy-Cons on the Switch most of the time. Like if you are um, if you're playing it on the couch and you're using the Joy-Cons, that's like the only time where it'll be depleting battery life. But once you're done, realistically, you'll just be clicking it back onto the Switch, and then it'll be charging. And if it's in handheld,
Yeah.
it'll be on the Switch and charging. So even 20 hours of battery life is great. But
Yeah.
if it can get to 30, I think that will be fantastic. And you got to remember too, the Switch Pro controller, that's already at 40. I think that's the max it gets to, is 40. So if these can get to 30,
Yeah,
and the Switch
and
2,
on that
yeah,
topic, yeah, on the topic of that Switch Pro Controller battery, remember, we're also talking about the exact same battery that's used in the Wii U Pro Controller, which lasted 80 hours. So
yeah.
it's still a very, very impressive battery life.
Speaking of,
Like,
hold up.
yeah, go ahead.
Continue. I got to mute for a sec again.
Okay then. So yeah, but yeah, on the top, like the battery life being like for these controllers, it's not going to be unexpected if Nintendo could not make the battery life last more than 30 hours. I'd be more impressed if they could, considering the Joy-Con size. Nice. Like if it can last more than 30 hours, you color me impressed, because that is definitely a very tough beat to beat already. Like the 20 hours we got, I feel like that is amazing, and it's insane how lucky we got with the battery life being that long. And people are complaining about like that the Joy-Cons are dying on them so often. One, it's either your battery in the Joy-Cons, it's extremely bad and you definitely want to get that replaced, or two, you pretty much just keep forgetting to charge the Joy-Cons after every use. Because from a majority of the people who actually have seen this, like, and have been using the Joy-Cons, it's insanely long. And people have made jokes about it being like that they could last several years without charging the damn thing and still have some battery life in it. Because there's been jokes about that, like with the DS, and even like what if I. What else was there, pretty much?
SP maybe?
Oh, go ahead. No, SP's battery life is not that impressive compared to the DS.
No. Oh, like the original DS or the DS Lite?
The DS Lite, but
wasn't the 2DS like that too?
I believe so, but
it would make sense for the 2DS to have a
wrong.
really long battery life for getting rid of the 3D
but
capability.
Still, battery life, like yeah. So yeah, and anything, but all that aside, Nintendo does primarily care about the battery life of the damn controllers. They don't really want you to deal with a controller that dies so quickly, unlike other companies that we're seeing right now with Xbox, PlayStation. But their controllers die quick, like real quick.
And granted, I do like that out of all the companies, for some reason, and I don't mind this, but Xbox still uses batteries, like actual batteries that you put into the controller. I do like that, because sometimes it's just way simpler to like, instead of waiting for a controller to charge all the way, you just put a fully charged battery in there and it's already working. But then again, that's just, I mean, if you just charge your controllers, if you just remember to charge your controllers, you won't have to worry about that. But and yeah, like you were saying with the Switch Pro controller, I actually, when we were talking about that, I actually just randomly thought, well, if the Joy-Cons have the capability to be used as like a mouse, what if they somehow made that possible with the Pro Controller? And if so, how the heck would that work? Gyro, maybe?
That would be a little weird, but considering that it's gonna like they have to have like definitely got like, if they're gonna have a DPI sensor pretty much in the Pro controller at that point. I mean that's gonna be a very concerning thing considering that what
Mhm.
it could like the primary thing that they could add pretty much is the infrared camera so that way it knows its orientation and what its
Mhm.
position pretty much kind of like as if it's a Wii remote because
Yep.
at the end of the day the Wii remote's motion controls before it used to rely on its accelerometer and also the Wii sensor bar, which is pretty much how it points the infrared camera. It didn't
Yep.
exactly do much when it came to actually when you tilt it on its side very often. It does know when you're moving it and all that, but that's about it. As that's the furthest it can do. Then like when the Wii motion like when the Wii Motion Plus came out, that literally added the gyroscope it needed, and now
Yep.
pretty much the Wii remote came like all Wii remotes since then came with the Wii Motion Plus built into it, and now like it has both like the like all three aspects of what makes good motion controls for like any system,
Yep.
which is pretty much the IR camera, so that way it knows its exact position, the gyro, so that way it knows its orientation at any point,
An
and then
accelerometer.
you have the accelerometer, yeah, which exactly knows how fast it's moving and all that,
Yep.
which helps
And
a lot.
I think t- I still think the gamepad holds the position for like the best gyro because I still think yeah because there were very few times where you actually had to worry about camera offset with the gamepad for like Splatoon and that like
Right.
I can't remember one time ever having to worry about that uh,
Yeah.
whereas um, I have that I still have that problem with Splatoon 2 and 3 uh, whether it's a Pro Controller or the um, Joy-Cons. Now, maybe, hopefully they improve that with, theoretically, if these controllers have better everything, then it should have better gyro too. So, yeah. Anyway,
And yeah.
oh yeah, I was gonna say this dock. Do they show anything about the Switch dock other than just the front of it?
No. Nope.
Okay.
That's just all we know about it. The design, like, it's much more like rounded out compared to, like, even the like OLED dock. Pretty much, like, it is much more rounded out at the corner, at the top two corners.
Yeah, it looks almost like a gravestone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's about it. That's all what do we got pretty much on info
Okay.
of it.
I was.
We do see pretty much the Joy-Con grip essentially. So it looks like, according to like what we can see on this video, pretty much of the Joy-Con grip, and like with the right Joy-Con popping out, pretty much on how it is. It's like it seems like it's very hollowed and flattened out, so that way it's easy enough to slide it in.
Yeah, because with the regular Joy-Con grip, you have to slide it from like top to bottom, so they make a little, I guess, indentation so you can do that. But with here, because it clips in sideways, they can't really do that. They have to make it so that you can actually clip it in sideways. So they had to flatten it out. Now, yeah, I do wonder how different that's gonna feel from the, because I sometimes like using the Joy-Con grip because it does sort of, I don't know why, but sometimes I like using the Joy-Con grip over the Pro Controller.
That is interesting
Sure.
because I never really liked the Joy-Con grip at all
Uh,
personally.
I like the, now when I say that, I mean, um, like, I don't like the Joy-Cons by themselves, but putting them in the grip, for some reason, like if there wasn't the Joy-Cons at all, if they were to just make a controller with the sort of feel of the grip, I wouldn't mind it. Because to me, the grip, if they made the grip into a controller, it would feel like one of those miniature Power A controllers.
Right.
Yeah. But go ahead.
No, I wasn't saying anything.
Oh yeah, that's why I kind of like it because it reminds me of the way that the ergonomics feel reminds me of the mini Power A controllers. Um,
See, yeah.
but that's really all I had to say about that. But I also
Yeah.
suspect this to be bigger because the Joy Cons are bigger. So and it still
Right.
looks like basically perfectly square. So um, it might even be the same like width as whatever Pro controller comes out for this thing.
Yes, and like, there's obviously nothing wrong with a small controller. We have seen this tiny, like, small controllers have worked with. Obviously, you mentioned like with the Power A controllers, but there's also
Yep.
been like other or like really small controllers that have worked. 8BitDo has made a like comically joke, like a comically small joke of a controller, but it still is a completely functional controller. It
Yep.
is insane how good it can actually function. So obviously, like being a small controller shouldn't have that many issues, but obviously there's a point where you kind of want to have like if you're gonna add in all these features, you better make it a little bit bigger than normal. Like the Power A Mini Pro, like the Power A Mini Elite controller for the Wii U, pretty much. Like this is one of my favorite Wii U Pro controllers, pretty much,
Yep.
and it is such a good controller. Like the grip feels amazing, even for a tiny controller, or by comparison.
I
And
still
this is
have
just
mine
straight up,
somewhere.
yeah. Mine's still being used here. Like I still like using this on the Wii, like on the Wii U, and I also have been using this on the Switch a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like we've seen like tiny controllers can work. Obviously, it would be cool to see like if we can have an official miniature control, another official miniature controller, like of the Switch Pro controller, essentially.
I
And kind of like what Power A was doing currently with their Nano controller,
Yep.
right? But yeah,
Speaking of that, on the subject of Pro controllers, do you think there will be backwards compatibility with Nintendo Switch One controllers? Maybe not the Joy
oh,
Cons.
absolutely.
Maybe not the Joy Cons because obviously the Joy Cons can't click to the Switch Two, but maybe a Switch One Pro controller can connect to a Switch Two. Maybe
Yeah,
even
I feel like they definitely can connect. Like the thing is that like what I'm actually worried like and I feel like the Switch 1 Joy-Cons can actually still connect to the Switch 2. However, you just can't do like the traditional method of how you slide it in to instantly connect. You're gonna have to use the sync button on it. That's what I
yeah.
believe.
It's just like they'll just be a separated controller. They won't be able to, go handheld with it, obviously.
Right.
But I also well yeah they probably won't be forwards compatible. Like I would expect you probably can't connect a Switch 2 Pro controller to a Switch 1. Um, but hey, maybe you can. I don't know. Just a
I mean,
firmware
it would be
update.
cool if it did, and then like it would be cool if they could, and then like, oh yeah, no, like nothing much more than just hey, you got pretty much another controller for your Switch, and it's just forward compatible, or like in a firmware update essentially.
Yeah, I was gonna say a firmware update. That's all they need to do. And even if it's just the Pro controller, that's a whole Pro controller you don't have to buy, right? If you have
Yeah,
like if you
and I have a lot of Switch Pro controllers like on me because
Mhm.
I bought a lot of these for or like playing 8-player games on my Switch, or there were some collectible like limited edition Pro controllers I had.
Yeah.
Like I'm a huge collector of these controllers. Or so yeah.
Now, I guess that was it for the trailer in general. The last thing, of course, being the backwards compatibility confirmation, which to me that was an obvious thing. I mean, I was not expecting it to not be backwards compatible if it's going to be a Switch 2. Um,
Right.
and but it does clarify that it's certain games are not supported. So again, games that like my assumption is any game that required the physical use of a Joy-Con, like uh, basically required, like for example, Nintendo Labo, where you actually had to fit the Joy-Con into something, probably won't work.
Yeah, that definitely.
Switch 2 probably won't work with Labo because the new Joy-Con is too big now. Or
Right.
Ring Fit Adventure or whatever. The new Joy-Con's not going to fit in that. So any other game that like, you know, you needed to fit the Joy-Con into something, probably
Yeah.
not going to work. Maybe even
Right.
1-2 switch. I'm trying to think if there's no IR sensor on the bottom of this Joy-Con, then maybe that
Which
won't work.
we can't, like, which we have seen that it doesn't seem like there is for one of those IR cameras. We just got an IR sensor, or as far as
Yeah.
it looks like to us.
Yeah,
Like,
sensor,
that's different
not a
from an
camera.
IR
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
because like in it like for example in the Switch
I think
presentation.
the cat might have just been outside.
Okay.
But here,
Um,
but I'm also wondering if it's not an IR sensor, and in fact that right there, or what we're thinking is the IR sensor, is actually just the DPI sensor. I'm not gonna be surprised if it is that essentially, because they kind of,
yeah.
because it's possible the two of them are like it's possible to swap between the two, and you couldn't tell the difference. So it's possible that's what we actually are looking at.
Yeah,
see what it
DPI
is.
sent like because look, if I look at the bottom of this mouse, it's looking very, very much like that. Looking very much
Yeah.
like a DPI sensor. So yeah, that might be what we're looking at there. And if that's
We
the
could be wrong as well, and like that could be a wrong assumption, and it really is just like, oh, it really is like infrared. But we'll see like once that gets officially revealed, because at the end of the day, we're all just speculating. Nothing's been concrete or confirmed. It's just, hey, this is pretty much what we're going to see on what's going to happen with Nintendo's newest console.
Yep. Well, um,
There's definitely a cat outside. Is the kitty outside, Boomy?
oh,
Where's he at? You gonna get him?
give me a,
Yeah, I don't think we have any other news other than like this Nintendo Switch 2 experience, where they're gonna have a series of hands-on events around the world for this thing, as well as pretty much that we get a Nintendo Switch Direct in April, on the 2nd, just a day after April Fool's Day. So, yep. So it's not an April Fool's Day prank. But yeah, I think like we got a lot of
yeah.
info off this, and it's a great. And I think this is a good enough speculation on what we can expect from it. As far as like, if we're gonna talk about like the technological things, like on what specs it is, that's like we're not gonna bother talking about that, considering we just want to see like what is featured here. We're not gonna go into those kinds of speculations, you know, because I feel like
Yeah.
that's just way too broad of a subject, and like we can't exactly identify it, because that
True.
is like, if we want like have more fun with these kinds of speculations, we want to try to break down what we have visible, pretty much.
Now, what I
And
will
that's
say,
the fun of speculations.
I did have a couple small like, I guess articles, kind of, up. It was just 3 articles that were, sort of, brought up in a different Discord server that I was like, okay, maybe I could sort of add this onto the stream as like a closing statement or something. One of them was the idea of the mouse. So if I oh, you know what? I don't think I can do this. Can I? Let me see if I can cut this and go to Discord and send it to you so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So this is the article about the mouse pad feature, right? Or the mouse feature. And then this was just something I found kind of funny, about leakers, about the Switch leakers, and what some of the developers actually think of the Switch leakers. And then the final thing was an account talking about the fact that there's no IR camera, and actually also the LED light, the ring around the home button is gone too, because Well, yeah, just there's no ring around the home button now. Because you know when you turn your Switch on, or you get like a notification, you see a light on your home button. But you don't see
Right.
that now. But in particular, the thing I wanted to highlight was just the Okami uh, article, where so this comes from Culture Crave, but they said Okami create Hideki Kamiya, so that is that's freaking Nier Automata, I think, and also Astral Chain, basically Platinum Games. I just found this funny. So it says Okami creator Hideki Kamiya calls out the shitty leakers over the Nintendo Switch 2. I hope all the people who leaked the Switch 2 information and those who helped leak it will be cursed for the rest of their lives to always have poop on the soles of their shoes when they get home. The worst scum, they should be covered in shit from head to toe and thrown out of the atmosphere, then stop thinking and wander forever. They need to be crushed as soon as possible. This is apparently the the head honcho of Platinum Games saying this. So
Yeah.
if does that mean the Nintendo ninjas are coming soon? Is that what we're about to
I would
be
hope so.
seeing? I think that's what's about to happen. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just found that hilarious, and honestly,
Yeah,
I don't
it is
disagree.
hilarious.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. F those leakers, honestly. Like, seriously, they ruin a lot of things. Like, I get why leakers are a thing, but like, come on, don't ruin the surprise for everyone.
Yeah, I didn't want to know that it was like because of the leakers. I didn't, and they kept saying Nintendo Switch 2. I was like, oh no, I don't want it to be called the Nintendo Switch 2. But if all this stuff is true, and they got the Switch somehow, and they're leaking this, then they know it's called the Switch 2 because it's on the system. You know.
Yep.
So I don't know. To me, like, it's that it's satisfying, honestly, that freaking head developers are saying this. So now I don't know where the original post of this is, but maybe it's an article or it's in Japanese or something. And but still, that's just hilarious that they said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, man, there was a trailer for there was a new trailer for Xenoblade X Definitive Edition that I was thinking of reacting to today too, but I think I'll save that for maybe tomorrow because it's supposed to be adding like new characters in the game too that weren't in the original, so that'll be interesting. But anyway, I think we covered pretty much everything that we needed to. Unless you have any last second thoughts on that?
No, but I did notice one thing. Like, we'll go back to like 27. Apparently, I'm noticing a little button at the very top, or no, at 29 seconds, pretty much. But
Okay.
I'm not sure what this is. It could be possible it's just a screw hole, but I want to assume that this probably might be a sync button, essentially, maybe, or that this.
You said 29 seconds in, right?
Yes, 29 seconds in, like on the.
I'm killing you, Paul.
Okay. Oh yeah, it's like a flat button. That's interesting.
It's possible that just could be a sync button, or that is just some other like random hole that is in there. But it's kind of weird that it's in there.
It
We'll see
doesn't.
what it is, but
I
I feel like it might be the sync button.
I was gonna say I don't think it's a screw hole because there's a screw right after that.
Yeah.
So it might because that's another thing. The Switch console actually doesn't have a sync button. You just have to hope.
Yeah.
You just have to
If you
hope.
want to sync new controllers wirelessly, you have to go to pretty much the change controller/grip order or menu.
Yeah, and you just have to hope it connects sometimes too, because sometimes they just don't
Yeah.
want to connect. Especially
Yeah.
pro controllers. Although
Oh,
they
yeah.
at least made it so you can like plug it in to connect it, because originally you couldn't do that. But 'cause obviously the Joy-Cons you can just click it onto the Switch and it connects, but with the Pro controller, you would need something like this. So if this is a sync button, then that's great, actually. So
Yeah, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I think that this was a good speculation and discussion on like what we, like our initial thoughts and what we could find pretty much on this entire thing.
yeah, it's fantastic, and I think it. I think it was like basically all everyone needed to like stop freaking. I don't know. Stop harassing Nintendo about it. It's like I think Nintendo just dropped this to be like, okay, could y'all just please shut up about this shit? We still got 3 more games to release.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah. So much for Super Nintendo Switch. Would have been a dope ass name. I agree. I think, although honestly, I didn't think it was gonna be either one of those. I was like, well, if it does something new, they should call it, you know, based on the new thing it does. Like, I don't know, the Switch, the Nintendo. Oh, I don't. Never mind. I was gonna say the Nintendo like slap or some clap or something, but because that's what it sounds like. But when it you clip it in, but that's dumb.
I mean, they could literally call it the Nintendo Hybrid, and it will still have probably some weird. It would just have some like implications of being like, why wasn't the original Switch called this hybrid? Like, this is still like, it's also a hybrid console. So I think like the naming scheme of the Nintendo Switch 2, it makes sense in a way.
Yeah, it's the most basic.
Really make.
Yeah, it's the most basic way to convey that, okay, it's the next thing. Like, you don't have to worry about, oh, is this just a slightly better Switch? No, it's a new console. It's a new thing. It's more powerful. It's going to play better games. It's going to play games that you can't play on the old Switch. So yeah, makes sense.
Right. And yeah, usually Nintendo is very like pretty good at naming their consoles too. Like, they have good reasons for calling their consoles the way they are. So
Yeah.
like, obviously with the Nintendo Entertainment System, they just wanted to pretty much make it look like a entertainment system, which is pretty much like the idea of disguising it pretty much as a VHS player in a way. Then we got the Super Nintendo, which just pretty much represent like superpower and all that.
Yeah, well, and it was, and then with Super Nintendo, you just like, you heard Super Nintendo, and it was like obvious that, okay, this thing, it's not just a Nintendo, it's like super, it's I guess.
Yeah, it's more powerful.
A
Nintendo.
super powerful Nintendo, yeah. And then Nintendo 64, that kind of refreshed the whole naming thing, and they're like, not only is this a Nintendo thing, all these other companies are doing 32-bit, we're doing 64-bit, even though no one knew what that meant at the time. But they're like, yeah, this thing is, not only is it super mega powerful, but we got like 3D games, and of course PlayStation was doing 3D games at the time, but they weren't doing the type of 3D games that Nintendo were doing, you know.
Right.
I don't think they.
And then we got pretty much the GameCube, which just pretty much, as they implied, the design is literally a cube.
Yep. And then I mean, the Wii, to me it always took a second to get the point of the Wii, but it's like, okay, the point of the name of the Wii is like, we're all playing, you know, as in, by we, I mean me, my mom, my grandma, my grandpa, my freaking two-year-old sister, you know, everybody playing. My cat, probably. I don't know.
Yeah. Like,
actually,
I think the most confusing one definitely is like the Wii U, and that was only because it used the Wii branding, but it was marketing as a tradition, like as a brand new console in a way where it just looked like it was just with the gamepad, and that's just a new accessory. That was it. So
yeah, and honestly,
that was actually where it got confusing.
If you ever like saw a Wii U commercial, no wonder nobody got it. Like, if you ever seen a Wii U commercial, it literally just looks like Wii. And the thing, you know how like the Wii, whenever like Wii commercials came out, there was like that little vibration little thing. There's like a little ding sound. The Wii U had the exact same sound effect.
The problem also didn't help that in a lot of those commercials, you see people playing with Wii remotes as well.
Yes.
Like, that really is
confused
adding
people.
in more nails to the coffin. and on why it sucked.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
try to figure out what the heck a Wii U is compared to the Wii,
Honestly,
because both consoles use the exact same controllers at that
yeah.
point, and just one looks like it's just adding in a new controller accessory, which is the Wii U gamepad, but
Yeah.
it's not in that aspect. So it kind of has mixed results as because of it.
Yeah, honestly, if they had replaced the if they'd done like those same commercials, but instead of using the Wii remote, they used the Wii U Pro controller, uh, it probably would have done better in marketing, because they were marketing the Wii U as if it was a Wii with a little
Yeah.
weird pad controller. So people who saw that were just thinking, oh, it's just a big version of the Wii or something. So they're like, oh, so none of the games that come out on this thing, like all the games that come out on this thing, are going to work with the regular Wii, right? No? Okay, well, I'm not paying $300 for something that I already have. you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like the Wii U naming scheme made sense at the time, but it also is what its downfall all of the Wii U was pretty much.
Yeah.
It's because of its naming scheme. And like we get it, like it's supposed to be a new console, but like when you showed it off to a lot of people, and the main
Mhm.
thing that they saw was that the Wii remote is pretty much there, they would naturally assume it's the exact same console but just now we have a new accessory for it. That's literally all it is.
Yeah, it's too
Which
bad,
they're
too,
not
because
exactly wrong in that way too.
too bad, too, because I actually, I still like the gamepad a lot. But, yeah. Horrible. It's just a horrible marketing period of Nintendo. I, it's just weird. That was a weird era in general, because like not only were there was it wasn't just the console. A lot of the games then were, I don't know. They were definitely out of the box, for sure. Maybe a little too
Yeah,
far out the box at the time.
yeah. Like yeah, like and again, Nintendo's great at making games for their systems. Essentially, like obviously, when they released Game Boy, it was a little bit confusing at first. Then we got the Game Boy Advance, and made which no when well we got Game Boy Color pretty much, which is just pretty much a color Game Boy.
Yeah.
So it made sense to call it that essentially.
Well, and
And it also had Game Boy Color games.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say I made this point in one of my Tacticasts, but it was like, um, what the Wii U essentially was. And honestly, if they marketed it like this, it probably would have sold better. What the Wii U basically was a home console DS or a home console 3DS, because that's all the 3DS was a two-screen system. Top screen was a bigger screen, bottom screen was a touch screen, and you had little controller things on the side. That's what the Wii U was, essentially. It was just a DS
In a
that you.
way, yes, but
Mhm.
more often it's actually introducing asymmetrical multiplayer in a way. That's what
Well,
it's
yeah,
that was its main way of doing it. And like it's sad that very few games took advantage of this. Like like obviously the biggest example would be Nintendo Land, and
yeah,
it's like with certain games that it had, like Mario Chase, then we got like the Ghost mini game. Like those games, for example, are some of the best ways to show off the Wii U essentially. And it made sense like why it worked like that.
yeah. The
But then we
concept,
got like
I would say, the
go ahead.
concept would, at least for third-party developers, I think the concept was a little too complicated for third parties, because they're trying to make the same game for every system, right? As opposed to for Nintendo. Now, for Nintendo, it makes sense because they have to learn their console regardless.
Right.
So Nintendo's going to be making games that utilize that, but third-party developers don't necessarily care. But but then again, they still have, if they're making their game for the Wii U, they're going to have this controller with a screen in it. They got to make use of it somehow, right? So most of them just made it a off TV play, and that was it. Although I actually
Yep.
did like that the gamepad had a sensor bar on it, so that if you wanted to play like Call of Duty with the Wii remote, you could just use the gamepad as your sensor bar, which I thought was
Yeah.
awesome when I was playing Metroid. I played Metroid Prime Trilogy on it, and I was like, who needs a sensor bar? I could use the gamepad. In fact, I could use the gamepad as the sensor bar and the screen at the same time. I thought that was actually cool. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much done here.
Yeah,
All in
I
all,
think I'm done as well. I don't have anything else to say.
yeah, I think I'll end by saying I'm optimistic of this. I think with the Switch, people were like cautiously optimistic. They were like, okay, we see what you're doing here, but we want to see you prove it with some games, right? Here,
Right.
at this point, we all have seen the success of the system, and now we're like, okay, let's wait and see, like how much they can, I guess, outdo what they did on the Switch, if they can do that.
Yeah, and that's like a very high bar as well, especially considering like that the success of the Switch came down to the fact that the
Mhm.
Switch itself benefited off the fact that it's a hybrid console, meaning that you can just pretty much play on both handheld mode, as a portable gaming machine, and on the TV instantly. Like you could swap between those without any hassle, and that was amazing.
Yep,
So yeah,
and I actually I saw this on a. I just kind of the idea came to mind in an RGT85 video, but it was like he was saying, like just at some point in the video, he's like, the Switch 2 might be more powerful than people are assuming it'll be, because people are saying like, well, maybe it won't be as powerful as like a Steam Deck or a Xbox One or Xbox Series S or something like that, but it'll be powerful enough to like utilize DLSS to make games look better than they normally would. But
yeah,
from what I was seeing from his video, is that based on the third-party support it's getting, the fact that any of these companies are on board at all, right? Because remember, when the Switch originally came out, most third parties weren't touching it until they saw some success, right? There was like
right.
10 third-party developers on. Now all of them are on the Switch in some way, and they're just waiting for a more powerful system. But so from what we see now, we're having almost all of the third-party developers coming out of the gate with games on the Switch 2 supposedly, and I've seen rumblings of like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is a PS5 exclusive, coming to the Switch 2. And
Yeah,
the Final Fantasy VII remake was a gorgeous game. And if Rebirth was even better looking than that, and if that's coming to the Switch 2, then it has to be at least powerful enough to run that, right?
right.
Yep. So I think it'll be.
Right.
I actually think it might be as powerful as an Xbox One X. I'm actually. And if it's that powerful, then we have nothing to worry about. Absolutely nothing to worry about. Because Xbox One X is still. It's the One X is like on par with the Series S, which is right about where you, that's as powerful as the Switch needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Breaking news. I think it would, even if it's like in between PS4 Pro and Xbox One X in power, that's still plenty to run most modern games. And the thing is too, it'll be modern technology anyway, because like the Switch 1 is old hardware, right? Like it's on Tegra X1
Yeah,
or something
it's
like
on.
that.
Yeah, it's pretty much like the Switch One's hardware output is pretty much on par with nearly an Xbox 360 and PS3. Pretty much is what the claim of it was.
Yep. But so if we're getting to, I still I'm firmly in the ballpark of like Xbox One X territory. Which if it's close to that, it'll be fine. It'll have no problem. At least for the next 5 years. Like, I'm more excited for like what Nintendo games will look like on it than third party games anyway. Like, I'm excited for what a new Zelda, a new Xenoblade, a new Metroid, not Metroid Prime 4, but a Metroid Prime 5 would look like on it. You know.
Yeah, and I would also love to see like other games, like game spin-off, like Pokemon Tournament. Then we got like what else?
I want to see them. What if? I want to. I think the Switch 2 would be the perfect system to bring back F-Zero to like like an HD 4K generation. And I think, yeah. Because like the last time you saw it was on the GameCube. And for GameCube graphics, it was a good game. It was a good looking game, but if you bring that up, if you put the GameCube game on the Switch now, it's going to look dated. But even if they remaster GX to look like, what it should look like on the Switch 2, I think that would be a good, graphics showcase for a new system. Right. Breaking news said, I think he's referring to if it's as powerful as the PS4 Pro, then GTA 5 may be able to be played on the Switch 2 and Red Dead 2. I mean, honestly, I think GTA 5 could probably run on the regular Switch. Because it isn't GTA 5 on like the 360?
Yeah, it is, I believe. So
yeah, the Switch, the regular Switch should be able to run GTA 5. So I think that I wouldn't even worry about GTA 5. Like, that's old news now. We got GTA 6 coming up. Wait, so you know how Microsoft is just putting their exclusives on every system now? What if Forza or Halo on it? I mean, why not? If it can run it, put it on there. Shoot. I mean, they obviously don't care about their own system anymore. So, yeah. I mean, I personally don't have a problem with them putting it on the other systems. It's at least if it's their first party games. Third party games, it's a little different for me. So, yeah. Oh, before we wrap this up, do you have anything else to say? Because I do need to wrap up.
no, I don't think so, because considering like what we have already discussed has already been said, and pretty much I don't think we have anything else like go over, considering we went through like every little painstaking detail and a lot of topics we discussed about what could be on the Switch. So I think this is a good wrap up on like our thoughts on it and what we could speculate for like what's going to happen with Nintendo Switch 2. And yeah, like we'll just have to wait until April 2nd, pretty much.
April 2nd.
And we'll see exactly. Yep. Like April 2nd, and we'll see exactly what is going on. Like we'll get more details pretty much from there.
When do
so,
you?
Yeah.
All right. Final answer to this question. From Breaking News. When do you think Splatoon 4 will come out? Honestly, 2026. What do you think?
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, I think 2026 is a good. Like, it definitely sounds like a good year to have like Splatoon 4 come out. If it's coming out like with like the same, if it's being announced at Nintendo Switch 2's Direct, I'd be very concerned, honestly, because Nintendo, like Splatoon 3 only came out for was only out for a few years, and if it's already getting a sequel this early, like that's very concerning, considering like, and I'm not talking about like the fact that like it's. Like, I'm not talking, like, considering, like, Splatoon 1 going to Splatoon 2 on Nintendo Switch is the thing. And, like, that was a 2-year gap, essentially. But it's still, like, it's more concerning now because Splatoon 3 just released. And with Splatoon 2 already being on the same system as Splatoon 3, pretty much, it's going to be a very weird situation for Splatoon 3, essentially.
Yeah, and if you think, too, like, even though the development cycle was a 2 year, they had like 3 years to work on that game. That like they had a long time. They had a lot more time to like, spend time on that game than they did with Splatoon 2. Because they had basically from the moment the moment Splatoon 1 released to work on Splatoon 2, right? Like as soon as Splatoon 1 came out, they were already working on Splatoon 2. Whereas they had a little bit more time um, to plan for Splatoon 3, right? Yeah, honestly, they barely had any time to plan for Splatoon 2 before they started developing it, whereas Splatoon 3, they had plenty of time. So I think they're going to wait, because, yeah, it came out in 2022. I would say 4 years is like a sweet spot for a Splatoon 4. And that gives them...
I'd be more considerate, like, give it 5 years pretty much, and then and I think we'll be fine pretty much, considering like that the game's been out long enough, pretty much, and it's not like Splatoon 3 is not in a weird middle ground, you know.
Yeah, and it gives them time to learn the system first too, because I'm of the belief that like I'd rather them learn the system after it being on the market for a couple years than them putting a lesser game at launch day, like because you can tell just the difference between Splatoon 2 and 3 with them having had their hands on the Switch 5 years as opposed to a couple months for Splatoon 2. You can tell a night and day difference of the content, graphics, just quality of life and all that they had, and even performance. Like the game still, in-game battles and stuff, it still runs at 60 frames. There's a lot more detail, a lot more visual fidelity that Splatoon 2. It was still good, but there's a little more finesse that they had with Splatoon 3. And that's just because they had their hands on the Switch for 5 more years, So I think waiting a couple years for them to like learn the system before diving in to a Splatoon game, I think would be a good idea.
Right.
But anyway, so Splatoon 3's launch was way better than... Yes, because they actually had a lot of content at launch day. Now that translated to less content over the years, but still, launch day for all 3 games, I think Splatoon 3 wins still. And I think Splatoon 4 could be even better. So, and that would be a great thing. But yeah, I think we're done here. So for everybody that tuned in the beginning, if you lurked at all, and if you're still here, thank you all for watching, and hurrah.
Thank you so much as well, and yeah, great to have you here as well, ReactiMuse, discussing this entire like Nintendo Switch 2 first look trailer with you, like after like you reacted to it and all that.
Yep.
Shout outs to him, and if you want to check him out, anyone who's on my stream, go to youtube.com/ReactiMuse and you'll find his channel.
Yep.
And he's also streams on Twitch, so let me see if I can get this command working. So shout out to ReactiMuse.
Yes, true. Breaking news. This is my first stream of 2025. And
yeah, that is true.
Yeah, likewise for those watching my stream, we've been talking with Virile Bimix, VORILEBEMX on Twitch, pretty much everywhere too. YouTube, same name on Twitch, YouTube, all that. I think mostly play Genshin, but play Splatoon, Didn't you like start another game recently?
No,
Oh, you
that
you
was finished a while ago.
yeah, you finished Simpsons.
Yep.
Hit and Run. That's the one. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Well, there you go. So, yeah, thank you all for watching, and catch you in the next one, which whenever that whenever that ends up happening. Maybe the next direct or whatever, whenever that is. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. All right. See
Yep.
you all next time then.
See ya.
And have a good night, everyone.
Yep. See ya. Bye. And for those of you in the stream, I'm just going to properly end it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Yep. See ya. Bye. Bye.